We ain't got no time to waste. Let's go. You are now listening to Jason Anderson, and you are in the zone.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
So, with the 29th pick in the 2022 Fade the Noise NFL Mock Draft, James Anderson, the Kansas City Chiefs, select who? James Anderson join us right now on Sports Radio 810 in Kansas City. James, let's talk running backs.
Yeah, excellent stuff. James, we're up against it. We appreciate the time, my man. Fantastic insight and information. We're looking forward to talking to you down the road. Enjoy the draft.
Absolutely, man. You guys too, anytime.
All right, there he goes. James Anderson, host of the Zone Midday Sports Radio 810 in KC.
You're in the zone on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, a Tuesday edition of The Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson, Josh Briscoe, Dylan Michaels. We head up until 2 o'clock. The next 4 hours, we've got you. Boy, a lot of stuff to get into today. Jam-packed show. We will get right into it, as we always do. 913-912-4810. No messing around. We ain't got no time to waste. 913-912-4810 is the text line to join us to be a part of the show today. The Zone presented by Google Fiber. Award-winning internet without data caps, annual contracts, or hidden fees. Now available up to 5 gigs and the unlimited internet, enough of it for everyone in your home and all their devices. It is Google Fiber, 1 gig, still the same price since 2012. So thank you to Google Fiber being a part of the show, and you can be a part of the show, 913-912-4810. Here's how it lines up today. We got Adam Teicher from ESPN. We'll talk some Chiefs with Chiefs insider Adam Teicher. Joins us each and every Tuesday at 11 o'clock. Today is no different. Get his thoughts on the Chiefs' schedule being released. The ESPN power rankings were released by the NFL Nation reporters and other writers. I believe they use 80 different people that come up with their power rankings at ESPN. It's not just like, hey, here's Adam Schefter's power rankings. It's a combination of all of the different people ranking 1 through 32. Spoiler alert, Chiefs are number 1. But it is the post-free agency, post-draft, pre-phase 3 of the offseason for these teams. Phase 1 being free agency, phase 2 being the draft, phase 3 being, let's figure out holes in the roster and sign some of these veteran guys and maybe make a trade or two, depending on what your team looks like. So Chiefs number 1 in the power rankings. But I looked through the Chiefs' schedule to look at the other teams in the power rankings and where they stack up to how good the Chiefs' schedule really is. And the odd part of like, you know what, I kind of like the Chiefs' schedule. And maybe it's because we've known who the opponents were going to be anyway. So it's not like it was a surprise that all of a sudden it's like, whoa, dude, the Chiefs playing the Eagles, the Bengals, the Bills, the freaking Dolphins.
This is really hard, man.
They're going to the Jets. I mean, the Lions finished 8-2 last year in their last 10 games, and they got them as well. They've got to play the Chargers twice. Not once, not one, but 2 different times. They go to New England. It's still Belichick.
The phones still aren't going to work.
I mean, unbelievable. So we already knew the opponents, right? It's just a matter of the order. But even with that being said, it's like, I'm fine with the schedule. I'm fine. There's a couple of parts that you'd like to have different. I'd like to have the Dolphins at Arrowhead. There you go. I'd like to have, the worst team that you would beat anywhere in Germany. That would be Chicago. As Michael Beasley once said about playing KU. We'll play him in Manhattan. We'll play him in Lawrence. We'll play him in Egypt. I don't care where we play him. You beat the Bears in Chicago, beat them in Kansas City, beat them in Germany, beat them in Egypt. I don't care. Play them anywhere. I'd like to see the Dolphins in Kansas City. That's been one of the nitpicks. But looked at the power rankings from ESPN with the NFL Nation, all their reporters and everything, and Adam Teicher being one of them with the Chiefs. Also a little write-up on each. He had the write-up on the Chiefs in the most improved position. We'll talk with Adam about those things coming up at 11 o'clock and some other things with the Kansas City Chiefs. The continual courting of Frank Clark by Chris Jones. Chris Jones' contract, Quinnen Williams and his contract. Is there a race to see who gets the contract first? Or is there a stalemate between the teams saying, well, we're going to see what that guy gets? Well, let's see what they do. Because Chris Jones is a member of the Chiefs. Quinnen Williams is a member of ... At least according to his Twitter bio,
That's what it says.
which then has just a picture of him in an Alabama uniform.
You always hate to see that. You go back. You know that's a safe one. You can always go back to your college avatar.
The old online social media negotiating with, he unfriended all of the, was it Kyler Murray? Kyler Murray erased
right.
all of his Arizona Cardinals stuff from his social media. Is he not going to show? Is he not going to be there? Is he going to hold out? What's the deal? Quinnen Williams is just retweeting all of these people, putting the Quinnen Williams stats, putting the contracts of all of the different defensive tackles that have signed. He's just retweeting those, changing his Twitter bio to defensive tackle for ...
Every time Tyrann Mathieu tweeted just anything gold and purple, I just assumed like, oh, here comes something. Something's about to happen.
Yep, here we go.
And to be fair, none of his drama was really internal. It was all external, where we could all see it.
It's true.
Or get hit by it.
Except for then we found out that, some of it was, internal.
That's true, actually.
With that last part of the season.
None of the internal stuff made it out until after the year.
Yeah.
But all of the external stuff was out there the whole time.
Turns out there was a number of internal things going on with
That's
both
actually-
Tyrann Mathieu and Tyreek Hill.
That's a great point. I completely forgot about that.
This team still had an 18-point lead in the AFC Championship game with the internal strife going on with a couple players. One that felt like he wasn't being used correctly, even though he was going to be a part of the Chiefs for the next 5 to 10 years, but still wasn't being used correctly. Maybe they were deflating his stats so they could trade him.
That's right. That makes sense. And I think Tyrann Mathieu had in his contract that he had to call the plays.
And Tyrann Mathieu had to call the plays. That's right, the good plays.
Just the good plays.
Well, the good plays or the bad plays? I can't remember.
Andy Reid always
Yes.
calls the bad plays, even though he has 51% of the vote.
Yeah, and Tyrann Mathieu knew in August that was his last year, so the entire season was him going through the motions of thinking, well, I'm not going to play. This is my last week 1.
No, that's a great point.
Well, this is my last week 2 with the Chiefs. Well, this is the last time I'm ever going to suit up in week 3 for the Chiefs. Last time I'm ever going to suit up in week 4 for the Chiefs. Just the whole season was just a long, continual, I guess I better enjoy this and soak it in because this is the last time it's going to be a week 7 in Kansas City. Oof. I don't know where I'm going to enjoy week 7s again, but it ain't going to be here at Arrowhead.
It's going to be the last time I play at the Washington football team as a member of the Kansas City Chiefs. Week 6.
It's hard to really enjoy the moment, when you know that it's fleeting. So there was some internal
There
stuff as well.
definitely was, but that did stay in to the point that I forgot about it.
But we'll talk with Adam Teicher about all the internal stuff from 2020.
Let's ask Adam
or
if he has any
2021.
internal strife that he needs to deal with today.
2021 season that never made it out until the 2022 offseason. And then it needed to be said, and then the Sam McDowell article. That was a lot of fun going on. We'll talk with Les Norman, also fun. Breaking the Norm. We'll hang out with him. He's presented by TruckMovers.com, First Federal Bank of Kansas City, and Amazing Garage Floors. Les Norman, we will talk with him about the Royals and the now 4-game losing streak at the hands of the Brewers and then the Padres last night. And Michael Wacha with a no-hitter into the 8th inning. Michael Massey gets a hit in the 8th, and then that knocks Wacha out of the game. Vinny Pasquantino did get a hit in the 9th, so it was not a one-hitter for the Royals. They got 2 hits in that game. So it makes it tougher and tougher for us to use Bobby Uecker in Major League when he goes 1 hit, 1 hit. That's all we got? You can't say on the radio. Nobody's listening anyway. Frickin' Pasquatch getting a hit in the 9th, ruining that clip. So can't play it. Thanks, Vinny.
They avoided the no-hitter, and then they avoided that clip getting played.
That's exactly right.
Do those 2 hits can do. Hey, a little bit of just national news right now.
Yes.
Woj just tweeting out that the 76ers have fired Doc Rivers. So yet another season-ending loss for Doc.
I wish it was at 7 in the morning, so it'd be another game 7.
If it was May 7th, or could we have waited a couple months?
What does that do for the story I just read at ESPN about Doc Rivers' vows to return to the 76ers next year?
Well, I mean,
What does he do? Is he going to buy a ticket?
His vows, he's going to follow them around and just get the seat behind the bench every game.
You're getting ready to give some vows on Saturday. What, yours going to be anything like, do you vow to return to the 76ers just like Doc Rivers does? Or are you also going to be fired directly after giving your... On Sunday, are you fired the day after giving your vows?
My concern is that I might be the Doc Rivers to Renee's 76ers.
That's right.
I'm vowing to return. It does not get any better than this. This is exactly where I want to be. I hope the Sixers feel the same way.
Are you vowing to return from Europe to the show?
You know what,
you can't,
Jason?
you can't comment on that yet.
Okay, I mean, yeah, that's a good point. Dylan, can you be my James Harden? Nailed it. Perfect. Great
got the
execution.
beard.
That's true. Hey, I do fear that beard. Here's the thing. I was gonna say I do vow to return to this show after we get back from Europe, but I don't like how that just panned out for Doc. So I'm gonna wait and see if see what the bosses think.
Yeah.
You know, Jason, I'd love to be back. Love being. Excuse me. You know, Jason, I'd love to be back. I love it here.
Hey, Jason, how's your relationship with Josh? It's fine. It's fine.
I mean, that sounds like an endorsement to me. That sounds like it's vow time.
That's right. Yes.
I am ready to vow it up.
That's right, man. He got the endorsement from the the GM of the team. It's like, no, we feel good about him. You know, got that dreaded GM vote of confidence there.
Can't have that VOCA.
So there you go. There's some national NBA news. Doc Rivers is out as the coach of the 76ers.
Currently on a plane to Phoenix. Weird.
Is he?
Not
You excited about that?
Not literally, but
Well, you would.
they'll be in the chat, I bet.
Okay.
Now I see a Sixers
excited
fan
about
on my
Game 7?
timeline who just tweeted, "Go get Monty Williams today." We could have just
What about
traded
Budenholzer?
coaches. I can't. That one I can't do. I don't even think I can joke about Budenholzer.
Why not?
I've seen the worst of Mike Budenholzer, and it's really bad. And I've seen the best of Mike Budenholzer, and his team beat my team in the finals.
Oh, you saw that? I don't
did.
know if you watched that or not.
It did.
Other NBA news: the NBA lottery tonight, 7:00 on ESPN.
Yeah, Wimby time.
That's right. It's not the NBA lottery. It's the Wimbanyana lottery.
Victor Wimben.
Wimban lottery.
I think Wimben lottery is pretty good.
Wimbanyana tonight.
His name wasn't hard enough for us to say previously. Let's add another word in there.
Victor Wimbanyana is tonight. Pistons, Rockets, Spurs with the three of the 14% chance of getting the number one pick, and the lowest chance of getting the number one pick is the New Orleans Pelicans. Rooting for that for Jarrett, who was just on with the Border Patrol, but that is a 0.5% chance. So
you're saying there's a chance.
that is right. There are 5 combinations for the Pelicans to be able to get the number one pick, compared to 140 combinations for the Pistons, Rockets, and Spurs each.
Yeah, I mean, it's an outside chance.
Outside, yes, outside chance. By outside, you mean Brad Keller last night. Just a bit outside.
That segue earned it. You earned it. That's a good one.
Which brings us to Les Norman. We'll talk with him coming up at noon.
I thought you said Waka pitched for the other team.
You're Kellering me.
Hey! This show's got hits.
People are walking away, though.
That's also true.
So 8 walks in 3 2/3 innings. He faced 25 batters. He walked 8, hit a man, and had 3 wild pitches last night. Did Brad Keller. Somehow gave up only 4 runs.
A miracle.
I mean, it's a miracle. How he only gave up that few runs. They lose 4-0 to the Royals last night. And as I said, it is a 4-game losing streak for the team. Actually, Brad Keller only gave up 2 earned runs. 3 runs, only 2, because Stallmont gave up one of the runs. But 3 earned runs, only 2 of those were earned because of his error, which also should be an earned run when the pitcher has an error.
Yeah,
I think those should be earned runs on the pitcher because he earned it by making the error with the ball that went through his legs.
Yeah.
That would have been the 3rd out, and you knew a run was scoring, right? Everybody knew a run was scoring. When that ball went through his legs, and it would have been the 3rd out. It's like, that's go ahead and count that. Just go ahead and go home. Just walk on home. You are going to score. Of course, fun. It took a wild pitch to do that, but just go. Which is what Brad Keller did. You know what? Just go. We all know this is going to happen. Let's just get it over with.
Just finding different ways to make it interesting.
Throw this back to the screen.
I appreciate
that. And there's no brick or anything back there to have it bounce really hard back to Salvi or something like that, and get somebody out at home like the Sly, like a crazy Sly, like a fox that he was when he had the wild pitch that just bounced a few feet away from Salvi and then got Tatis at home. Ooh, that was brilliant. That was like Rookie of the Year Henry Rowan-Gardner stuff, man. Can't hit your fastball. I dare you to run, chicken. So yeah, it was a rough one last night to watch the Chiefs or the Royals hardly ever rough to watch the Chiefs, but watch the Royals' inability to get on base and watch the it was the inevitable result. When you have the team that, has the first or second best walk rate in Major League Baseball in the Padres, and you have a pitcher that has the worst walk rate, 8 walks in 3 2/3 innings, probably what should have been expected. And Juan Soto actually thought he walked 2 different times in the same at-bat. Keller eventually took care of it and made sure he did walk. I did love that Rex Hudler last night was like, he doesn't really want to hit. He just wants to walk. Which was like, look, Brad Keller's not giving you a whole lot to hit.
That's right.
I mean, in his defense, he's wild. He's all over the place. And you can't really sit there and tunnel a pitch and say, well, if he's going to put it right here, like he's hardly ever doing that. So he can work the edges of the strike zone because he's hardly ever working in the strike zone. And they showed the graphic last night of the ball fours for Brad Keller.
Ooh, I haven't seen I missed that last night.
That was unbelievable. So you've got the strike zone, you got the square, rectangle, whatever you want to call it. There were no balls inside the rectangle for ball fours. Wait, I guess that would be
makes sense.
why that would be the case. But in all seriousness, it showed where they came in, and it's just like hardly any of them are close. There's like 10 of them in the ground. There's like 15 of them way up high. There's like another 5 or 6 in one batter's box and the 5 or 6 in the other batter's box. There's like a couple that were touching the strike zone barely, that it was like, I kind of got squeezed there. The rest of them were like, the umpire didn't even need to be back there. That would have been a call your own. Call your own fouls, call your own balls and strikes. That's what that would have been on those walks. Like, it's crazy how wild he can be, that he can throw the ball to the backstop. He can spin one off of Fernando Tatis or Manny Machado's hand, bounce him to where Salvi is in the dirt the entire game almost, and is having to work on his blocking ability like he's doing drills and practices in early spring training or something like that. And still be able to only give up 3 runs in 3 2/3 innings. And I know that's like, yeah, only 3 runs. It's a 9 ERA. I get that.
Yeah.
But he walked 8.
Yeah. If you watch that game, or even just get everything except for the run numbers, you would have expected worse. And Craig Brown tweeted this out last night. This is the pitching chart that I was looking at here that is just, it's from Baseball Savant, and it's got the spray chart with the pitch types. And he tagged the tremendous Art But Make It Sports Twitter account, which will post.
I love that.
Boy, if anyone listening does not know what we're talking about, it is one of the most incredible accounts on Twitter. They have an Instagram also, and it's not an algorithm. It's just someone who knows a lot of art and watches a lot of sports. Mind-boggling.
But they also get the pictures sent to them.
Yes.
And when they get they're just brilliant when it comes to art. Like every piece of artwork that's out there. This is surprising as a connoisseur myself.
Yes.
I haven't heard of like 99.999% of all the pieces of artwork that is put out, and I consider myself an expert. That's how good this Sports as Art Twitter account is.
I mean, it's incredible. There's for another example here is Liberty Leading the People by Eugene Delacroix. I believe I believe this is French Revolution.
His friends called him Gene.
It's a young kid holding a gun up in the air next to the screenshot of John Morant's video.
Oh my gosh.
So it's a very good account. But
I hadn't seen that.
I hadn't either, actually. But what Craig Brown did was he just put Brad Keller's pitch chart up next to this sort of Jackson Pollock-looking modern art, sort of just a bunch of colored dots. I'll retweet it. But at Craig Brown _KC, obviously a regular member of the Zone team.
Yeah.
But not a member of the Zone team, Brad Keller. Because looking at this pitch chart is genuinely hurtful. There's not like a pitch he at least could go back to. There was no single tool in the toolbox you felt pretty good with. It's just fastball, slider, curveball, changeup, and it looks like a party popper. It's just confetti. There's no theme.
It's a great description.
There's no clustering.
It's a party popper if nothing landed inside that white outline square.
Yes, it's there's not a curve that actually did touch the black at any point. Just looking at the sliders makes me very sad because it is truly one of those no correlation graphs. It's really, really brutal, and I don't want to say I'm like giving up on anybody on anything because it's May 16th and there's a lot of freaking baseball left.
Yeah, this This Brad Keller this year is like Tyrann Mathieu. He went to the mound last night. Was like, "This is the last time I'm be in San Diego as a member of the Royals."
And look, I think you're probably
last time
right.
I'm going to pitch in San Diego on this mound as a member of the Royals. I better savor it. You know what? I'm going to be out here. I'm just going to get my money's worth. Like me when I go to a golf course, I want to see the whole course. So I'm on the right side of the fairway. I'm on the left side of the fairway. I'm over the green. I'm back on the other side of the green. I'm getting the entire view of the golf course. People that just walk right down the middle of it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, let me.
Ever heard of the scenic route?
You know how much money I paid to be out here? I'm going to
Exactly.
enjoy this. Yeah, you can play through. I'm just enjoying it right now.
And that's why Brad Keller, went ahead and just tried to get some pitches, like you said, into both batters' boxes. Little high and tight, little low and away. Just kind of keeping it
Full
interesting.
experience.
And I think you will probably be proven right if you want to go ahead and opt out of the Brad Keller experience right now. I'm just doing the math in my head of what it's going to take to watch Royals baseball in June and July. And are we going to have like 2 guys in the starting rotation who we have any hope with whatsoever? Is the number 2 too high? That's where I start getting really sad and existential.
I mean, who are the 2?
I don't know. Daniel Lynch is one until he ceases to be one.
Hasn't been one yet.
No. I am very purposefully counting an incomplete as a passing grade at this point. And then maybe Brady Singer. Like, Brady Singer will probably be, whatever he does will be relevant to the Royals' next steps, regardless of if it's good or not.
Okay.
And then a little nostalgia trip with Zach Greinke. 2.5. And then we will see if Daniel Lynch is that at all.
Daniel Lynch has thrown 3 rehab starts. May 2nd, May 7th, and May 12th. Total of 10 2/3 with 11 strikeouts and 4 walks. 11 strikeouts in 10 innings. He's given up 4 earned runs in the 10 innings in his rehab. 2 1/3, 3 1/3, and then on Saturday, I believe it was Saturday, that he threw 5 innings, 2 earned runs, 2 strikeouts, 1 walk. For Omaha, so yeah, maybe that's it. It's not Bubic. We know that.
Nope.
Could be Lynch. It ain't Keller. It ain't Lyles. Greinke's fun because it's Greinke.
It's Greinke.
Singer, hopefully he can build off last night's or last outing's start. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson, Josh Briscoe, Dylan Michaels. We were looking at the art as, or sports as art Twitter account that has all the, they had one with Amir Garrett throwing up on the field and then a piece of art. And we're like, man, how does somebody even know that? I'm like, well, it's the Curtis Siebold of art. It's
really
like
is.
somebody that's going, why does Curtis know that? How and why is he aware of those things? Well, because we're all dorks. Just in our own way. Like, he's more of a dork when it comes to sport. Like, our lives revolve around men going out in jerseys or gladiators and playing a child's game, and we study the stats and the numbers and the historical precedent and the wins and the losses, and we argue over it. We talk about who's better or worse, and it's like a big deal to us where, you know, there are people actually solving world's problems, trying to come up with cures for cancer, you know, litigating the law, you know, protecting the streets, things like that, you know, helping out people that are in need. And we're like, yeah, but Brad Keller can't find the mother bleeping strike zone, okay, with a freaking map. Okay, Magellan had a more direct route to find his way to navigate than Keller does to the strike zone. Keller would be better if he walked it and placed it in Salvi's glove, but he would probably drop it along the way, and he would probably throw it off there. This is a problem. Let's really talk about this because I'm pissed about it.
Felix Njike-Uzama was my 314th ranked defensive end in this class.
Oh, my God.
How could you take him in the first round?
Was it 34th or 38th?
I don't
best
remember. It was really low.
defensive end. Oh, so stupid.
I wouldn't have taken Rashee Rice a pick above 60. What a dumb draft.
I can't hear you. What?
Uh-oh. Dylan, you talking?
It was
Oh.
38th.
38th best defense.
38th?
Yeah, and my tweet was, there's always a one-upper. I feel like the Chiefs may have, reached a little bit at number 31. Well, I didn't even have him in the first round. Well, I didn't think he was a top 40 pick. I probably wouldn't have drafted him on day 1 or 2. He was my 38th defensive end. Oh, yeah, take that.
Breland Speaks was eat his lunch in the USFL.
Yeah.
How many USFL Defensive Player of the Week awards does Felix Njike-Uzama have, idiot?
I gave the guy benefit of the doubt that he meant 38th player when he was like, I thought he meant 38th overall player. But then he doubled down and was like, oh, did you mean 38? No, 38th defensive end. I watch more film than other people do. Then stop.
Of what?
Then get a new job.
All right, maybe he's just ordering film and then just looking at the reel. And be like, all right.
I watch more film. I just actually watch the film. I watch how they make it.
I like that too. Maybe he meant to pluralize it. Maybe I watch more films than most people. And so he watches a nice art house movie. Nothing wrong with a good art
I
house
actually
movie.
watch
and then
Silk
ranks
create the
players.
film on top of it. As it dries out and it's off the stove, I watch the film develop there.
I love to just pour a nice tall glass of milk and watch the film.
I don't. Yeah, we're all dorks. My son last night asked me, like, hey, Dad, who invented baseball? I'm like, well, Abner Doubleday, but there's kind of like a myth around it. And I just stopped him like, there's no reason to get into this because nobody should really know that off the top of their head. Son, I apologize, I'm a dork. He's like, well, why are you a dork? I'm like, I'll explain it later on. Like everybody I've always said, find your dork, find what you love, find the geek in you, and then try to have your life and your job around that in some way, shape, or form. Son, find what you're a dork about, what you're a geek about, and then just simply go and live your life doing that. And you'll know for some reason the myth and the stories around war hero Abner Doubleday and whether or not he did or did not actually invent this great game we call baseball that you just got through playing, 4.5 innings of, bud.
What you just reminded me of is that there is a brief part in backyard baseball video game history where the color commentator's name is Abner Doubleplay. And I just had to Google and make sure that was true. And it was, as I find out here now, that he was only there for 2 or 3 editions of backyard baseball, who briefly replaced Vinny the Gooch, the previous long-standing color commentator in backyard baseball.
Vinny the Gooch.
As his name is a pun on Civil War hero Abner Doubleday, who is popularly but falsely credited with the invention of baseball. Very judgy. Backyard Sports Wiki.
Yeah.
Were you there?
Right.
Did you ask Abner Doubleday?
Right. Huh? Better get a double take if you want to discredit him, man. So yeah, that's the as we said, that's the art and sports guy.
Did they say why Vinny was replaced as color commentator? Was there any controversies?
There was. Child Nick Castellanos was up, and it was a whole deal. It was- hey, we got a cough. That's a good one.
that was good. Nick,
Good setup, Dylan. Appreciate that one.
Child Nick Castellanos was up. Very good.
It was a deep dive into West Field.
913-912-4810. 913-912-4810. The Royals have a leadoff hitter problem. I'll talk about this with Les Norman coming up at noon, but Matthew Lamar at Royals Review talked about this and wrote about it. The league-wide average for leadoff hitters, league-wide slash line, let's do that, NK rate, what he used. And I thought it's fascinating to look at it because we know that the Royals have a leadoff batter on-base problem because their main leadoff hitter has an on-base problem just in general in his career, minor league career and, major league career. League-wide, the slash line for a leadoff hitter, and not just leading off an inning, just your number one hitter in the order, 258, 333, and 405. So a 333 on-base percentage. Pretty good. Pretty good for a leadoff hitter. That's league-wide. That's the average. Strikeout rate, just under 20%. But let's round up. It's like 19.9. We'll call it 20%. That's an even number. 20% strikeout rate, but a 333 on-base percentage. The Royals' number one hitter in the lineup is slashing at 212, so roughly 46 points lower in batting average. 256 on-base percentage. The on-base percentage for the Royals' number one hitter is 2 points lower than the batting average of league average number one hitters. Batting average. Royals' on-base percentage is 2 points lower than the batting average. They're getting on base at a lower clip than other teams' leadoff hitters, averaging a base hit. And that's not just singles. Those base hits might be doubles or triples or a home run. At worst, it's at first base. They are roughly 80 points lower in on-base percentage, but 24 points higher in slugging. So when they do hit the ball, because that's essentially Bobby Witt.
That's just Bobby Witt, right?
And,
okay,
and MJ Melendez at times, The strikeout rate, league average, is 20%. Royals strikeout rate is 27%. The number one hitter in the Royals lineup has a total, in 195 plate appearances, has a total of 11 walks. In 195 plate appearances, the leadoff hitter has 11 walks. And if you're wondering what opponents are doing against the Royals, opponents are batting 260. They're getting on base at 323, and they're slugging 470. But their K rate, we said league average is 20%.
Yeah.
Royals 27%. Leadoff hitters for other team, their K rate is 16%. Damn it. I was hoping the voice inflection was hoping I would go the other way with that.
Do you have the leadoff walk numbers for other teams facing the Royals? It doesn't really matter. I'm just morbidly curious.
So here's the thing at Baseball Reference and the way they do their splits. So the Royals can have batting first, and we know that's the leadoff hitter. The pitchers in their first batter can be relievers coming in too. So it's not necessarily the first batter in the lineup.
Sorry, I asked for the one stat you could not feasibly bring to the table.
I mean, I could probably find it, but I didn't want to go down the road of
give the
Curtis.
exit velo of every single Royals first pitch at bat.
Yes,
first at bat of the game.
32 miles an hour.
That seems really low.
Opponents, oddly enough, 132.
That seems about right, actually.
132 miles an hour exit velo.
Those are shockingly bad numbers.
Yeah, and the other thing on the just the walks in general of the number one hitter. So in the lineup 1 through 9, the leadoff hitter has the third fewest walks on the Royals. The number 6 hole for some reason has only 7 walks on the season. The number 9 hitter has 9 walks, and the number one hitter in the Royals lineup has 11 total walks. But they have so many more plate appearances than the number 9 and the number 6 hitter does, yet they only have 2 more walks. And the problem is, as Matthew brought up, and is the next question, which I'll ask Les if he has an answer, who is it?
Yeah.
And that's the point of do they have a leadoff hitter problem? Yeah, because their leadoff hitters aren't getting on base at a high enough clip to set up the guys who aren't traditionally leadoff hitters, because Salvi and Vinny, Vinny's been really good in the number 2 spot.
Yep.
I mean, he's getting on base at, 360.
Yep, 359.
But he's also one of the few guys that can drive some runs in. So do you put him at the number 1 spot? Well, you put him at the number 1 spot. Well, guess what? 8 and 9 are not getting on base. So now you're making it even less likely that Vinny is going to have somebody on base when he, is up to bat. But you're making it more likely that somebody will be on base for the 2 and 3 hitters in the lineup. But who are then those 2 and 3 hitters going to be in the lineup? So yeah, turns out it's not an overall 1 through 9 great lineup that would fit in traditionally where the 1 hitter, the 2 hitter. I mean, Kevin Youkilis, again, we talk about it. The Red Sox won a World Series with the Greek god of walks batting first, but he was the Greek god of walks. And he wasn't the only guy in the lineup that could drive runs in. That's the other thing. They had guys behind him that could hit home runs, drive in the gaps, and things like that. Bobby and MJ batting near the top, and MJ's been better as of late.
Yeah.
But I don't know where the spot's going to be for Bobby Witt. Because traditionally you would say, well, your number 1 hitter gets on base and steals bases, and the number 2 hitter would bunt him over, and if that guy's at second base, he would just hit the ball to the right side and move him over to third, and then your number 3 and number 4 hitters would come in and drive the run home or clean up, as the number 4 hitter would do. Yeah, traditionally that would be nice, but Royals don't even have the traditional number 1 guy, and it's hard to sort of set the table. Like, I don't know the answer to that. Matthew Lamar at Royals Review said Edward Olivares is probably who he would go with.
He's next and on base. And
totally okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm good with it because the Royals start off games too often with strikeouts.
Yeah.
1 out, nobody on. Here's Vinny Pasquantino up. 1 out, nobody on. Here's Vinny Pasquantino up. First inning, 1 out, nobody on. Vinny Pasquantino's up. I mean, honestly, he might as well be the leadoff hitter. Because
he's currently the leadoff hitter with only 2 outs to work with the rest of the inning.
He's coming up with nobody on base.
Yeah.
In the first inning, each time he comes up there, it's like nobody there. Nobody there to drive in. The only RBI he's going to get is if he drives himself in.
I know we got to take a break, so maybe this is a question for you. Maybe there's a question for you to marinate on in the break.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So, I mean, you may have also asked this, at least rhetorically, but I'm asking it specifically. So where does Bobby Witt go? Because I think Edward Olivares, being your leadoff guy, giving that a shot for a little while, right? Seeing what that does for the lineup. That makes sense to me. So where's Bobby Witt at? Jason gives you the answer next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts.
No matter what it is that you want to go see in person, there's only one place you should stop on your way to get there. That's Tickets for Less. I don't know if you've looked around at all and maybe seen some other issues other ticket companies are having around the country. That's not going to happen at Tickets for Less. Then also, now knowing that the NFL schedule is out and the reigning champion Kansas City Chiefs, they've got some huge home games this season. If you want to be there, don't go anywhere else. Lock in your seats today at ticketsforless.com, your home for the best selection of tickets without the outrageous fees. Tickets for Less is also home to the best parking and VIP tailgate options, and you'll save even more when you use the new cart feature at ticketsforless.com to get all 3 in one single order. When you need tickets, think Tickets for Less.
As the weather turns towards spring, now is the time to get your backyard set up for grilling season. Whether it's giving your current setup some new accessories or it's just time to upgrade.
faster.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Punters don't have entourages.
All right, wrapping up here the first hour. We'll talk with Adam Teicher. The answer I have to where does Bobby Witt go, I don't know. Like, I'd be all for Oliveras leading off and then going Vinny and Salvi. Maybe it's Bobby and then MJ or Prado at that point. You know, the thing is, Prado's got a 4.11. I mean, Prado? I'd be fine with Prado leads off. He's getting on base at 4.11.
You said that you were going to put Bobby Witt Jr. in the spot in the lineup where he'd spend the rest of his career. Where's that going to be? Oh, no, I think I said that you were going to do that.
Oh, wait, yeah.
That's unfair.
I don't know.
Three-hole makes sense, but now you're moving Salvi down. Maybe it is Prado.
Yeah, but that's sort of like the issue with this season is figure those things out.
Yeah.
Can Bobby Witt be a leadoff hitter, or is he going to fit in somewhere else?
Be a part of the wildest fundraiser in Kansas City, Jazz Zoo. Party animals will gather for a 21 and over evening at the zoo to enjoy unlimited food, drinks, and entertainment all night long. The event features live bands,
line.
Okay.
So, it's
so you weren't saying
but
any.
it's
You were
all
just,
good. I can hear you now.
Yes. Okay. So you weren't hearing me. You weren't talking. Great. We did not miss any of those gems that Adam typically gives us. They were not wasted in the ether of nobody hearing that. That's great.
There you go.
Fantastic. Like one of my favorite interviews I've ever done. Two of them, Scott Barlow and Nikki Lopez, that were at Chicken and Pickle, and we recorded it back here because it was at night. And we recorded back then. I'm like, those interviews were amazing. And then I was told, hey, I'm sorry, but they did not record. So that was awesome. So Nikki Lopez and Scott Barlow and I had one hell of a conversation that nobody else will know about except me and them. You'll just have to take my word for it. But we did not lose that from Adam Teicher. Welcome to the show, bud. Let's start with this. The Chiefs schedule release. We talked last week about, the rookie minicamp and things like that. Not much about the schedule. We knew the opponents, but your reaction and takeaway from now we know the order, Adam, of who they're playing, when they're playing, and what time and network they're playing on.
Yeah, we do, and it looks to me like the schedule's a little bit more backloaded than it's been, and so I think they're going to need to get off to a fairly quick start. And fortunately for them, they usually do. But they've got the games against the Bengals and the Bills and the Eagles all in the last 6 weeks or so, and so the Chargers to finish the season out in L.A. So there's some difficult games toward the end of the season for the Chiefs, and I feel like they're going to need to get off to a pretty good start this year. They can't afford a 500 start after say 5 or 6 games, whatever it is. But fortunately for them, that rarely happens to them.
I was thinking back to last year when this schedule was released, and we were talking about that, and looking back to last year, the 7 games that they played before the bye week, because they had an earlier bye week, not like the Chargers this year in week 5 with the bye week, but they were bye week number 8. And the conversation last year was, boy, that is a gauntlet to start off the season. You're going to Arizona. You got the Chargers at home on, Thursday Night Football. You're going to Tampa. You got the Bills. You're going to San Francisco. I mean, what's the record going to be before the bye? I mean, is it going to be 4-3? Then they lost to the Colts, and you're like, oh, no. You're already 2-1 with a loss to the Colts. You better figure this thing out. And they went 5-2 before the bye, which is kind of like, okay, if they can go 5-2, you feel pretty good. And you did, because it wasn't as backloaded. There were a couple of games there in the last part. One of them they end up losing, and that was the Cincinnati Bengals, but they end up going 14-3. Would you rather it be like it was last year, to where we talked about they got to get off to a good start in those first 6 or 7 weeks of the season, or after the bye week it gets pretty serious for this Chiefs team, week 11 through 18? Not necessarily every single week is going to be a tough one, but just those 8 games that they play are, going to be pretty rough as a whole in the second half. Would you rather those be the first half or the second half of the season if you had your druthers?
If you're the Chiefs, I don't think it really matters. I mean, one thing that they never have to fear is a tougher early season schedule. And again, we talked about this a bunch, but I just feel like the way the Chiefs work during the preseason sets them up to start well during the regular season. They're more ready to go than just about any team on a consistent basis in the league. So, if it was that way, let's just say they faced the Bills and the Bengals and the Eagles over the first 6 weeks of the season, I think if any team's going to be ready for a challenge like that, it's going to be the Chiefs. So I think if you had your choice, I think you'd rather do it that way, just because they're a team that's started so quickly under Andy Reid, and some of these opponents, for instance, the Bengals, haven't been very good coming out of the gate lately, and they finished their season stronger the last couple of years than they have than they started it. So I think you'd rather have it that way, but I don't think the Chiefs either way have anything to fear. I still think this is hey, we knew who they were going to play and where they were going to play them, but the way this stacks up and the order of it, I don't think it's any problem for them.
Do you think we'll see a time when the Chiefs and Bengals play earlier in the season rather than what has been? They don't play in September, October, or November. They play in December and January. The Chiefs and Bengals do, and they play the last day they could possibly play in December this year. But it's not a coincidence, right, that the Chiefs, this is now 3 years in a row, they'll be playing the Bengals in December or January.
Yeah, no, it's not a coincidence, and maybe it was that first year. Nobody knew in 2021 in the regular season when they played in the next to last game of the season, I think it was, and that was nobody knew how good the Bengals were going to be, so that was probably a coincidence. But as long as TV is calling the shots on these things and says, okay, here's the marquee matchups that we want, and here's when we want to play them. Yeah, I do think it's going to be like this. It's kind of surprised to me that the Bills game last year was so early in the season. What was that, week 6 maybe? I was kind of surprised by that. And so I don't think there's any mystery that the Eagles, the Bills, and the Bengals are in the last 6 weeks of the season. I don't think that's any coincidence. I think that's when those were games coveted by the networks that are showing them, and they said to the NFL, "Listen, we prefer to have it this time of year." And so, it seems like the NFL more than ever, builds a schedule around TV that, whatever the networks want, they're going to do that. So, as long as these teams are good and that's a coveted game and that's what CBS or whatever network wants, I do think that game will be played late in the season.
It's back-to-back years that Cincinnati has been a part of, like, the marquee late season game, Week 17. It was Cincinnati and Buffalo last year, Monday Night Football, Week 17, that we know what happened with DeMar Hamlin. And then this year, Week 17, Sunday afternoon game of the week will be Chiefs and Bengals. Like it's been the Bengals last 2 years that they have had that huge matchup on the road, by the way. The Bengals went to Buffalo last year. They'll go to Kansas City this year. They've got a more difficult schedule, I think, in terms of road v. home than the Chiefs do. And we already knew the home and road opponents, Adam, and that's why, like I talked about this at the beginning of the show when, and even on Friday, it's like, okay, let's see what our analysis is of the schedule. And I didn't really find many people that were like, oh my goodness, this is a murderer's row. It's a gauntlet, because it's just a matter of finding the order of these. We didn't wake up Friday morning or Thursday night and go, oh my God, they're playing Philadelphia. They've got to play Cincinnati. They're playing Buffalo this year. They've got to go to the Jets. Since we've known that for a while, it kind of takes some of the sting off of, wow, look how tough the schedule is, because we knew they were going to be playing a tough schedule anyway. It's just a matter of finding the order. And to me, the main thing was, okay, what are the nationally televised games? Are there stretches to where they have like 3 road trips, 3 straight weeks where they're on the road? What are the, do they have a game where they play Monday Night Football and the team before that played Thursday Night Football and then they match up that weekend? Is there something like that? Who's coming off a bye? And the Chiefs' bye week is Week 10. Like, to me, looking at that and saying, all right, we already know their toughest opponents were at home. I'm perfectly fine with the schedule because they're not sitting there with a Week 5 bye week like the Chargers, or heck, even a Week 8 bye week like the Bengals. They got a Week 10, and the Bills have a Week 13 bye week. So they got to play 12 straight games before they finally get a rest. So, given that we knew who the opponents were anyway, I'm good with the schedule the way that it sets up.
Yeah, no, I think the order is about as agreeable to the Chiefs as you can ask for. When you give up a game to go to Europe, like the Chiefs have, you can basically pick when your bye week is. I mean, you can basically say, well, we'll take it right after this, and that makes it late in the year, or you can take your chances and do it that way. But the Chiefs, I think, probably did it the right way, and they're taking their bye after the Germany trip. And so, when this thing about 2 Thursday night games, and they were going to make some team play 2 Thursday night games, you sort of thought the Chiefs maybe were going to be part of that, as many favors as the league is doing for Amazon, but they only got one of them. Well, plus the season opener, but to me that one doesn't count.
Me too. I'm with you.
So it's not part of the Amazon package. So I thought the Chiefs might get a 3rd Thursday night game, but so they didn't get that either. So. It's not a bad schedule at all. Not at all.
Yeah, we'll see what some of those things end up being. Like if there's another flexed game, or, I mean, heck, the Chiefs could be flexed out of Sunday night with Green Bay. I mean, we've seen it before. We were shocked last year that it's like, okay, are they going to flex Patrick Mahomes out of prime time? And they did. It was supposed to be Mahomes versus Russell Wilson on Sunday Night Football, Chiefs and Broncos, but that got flexed out because, Russell Wilson and the Broncos weren't any good. So, like, even Patrick Mahomes wasn't immune to being flexed out of that game. So depending on what Green Bay is, week 13, they may not have one of those exclusive nights and one of those nationally televised games. Adam Teicher is our guest. You surprised that it was Detroit in game number 1 to lead off the season, that it wasn't more of a, quote unquote marquee matchup like the Eagles or Bengals or Bills, or maybe even a divisional opponent like the Chargers or something like that to start off the season in that season opener, that it was the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I did think it would be a divisional opponent, whether it's most likely the Chargers or the Broncos in Sean Payton's first game. I was kind of surprised by Detroit, and they used to try to make that a premier matchup, but the Chiefs had so many good games to choose from this year, and they chose one of their lesser opponents. I was surprised by that. When it was Detroit, that did catch me by surprise. I was fully expecting either the Dolphins, maybe not any of the real premier games, not necessarily Buffalo or Cincinnati or Philadelphia, but any of the others really, between Miami and Denver. The Chargers, maybe even the Raiders. But I think I was surprised by this, but hey, that's what the league decided to do, and it might still be a competitive game. Who knows? Yeah,
the two bigger surprises to me was Detroit week number 1, and then Miami was the opponent in Germany. And then we hear that the Chiefs blocked. You can block one team as your opponent as a home game for the European trip, and the Bears were the team that they ended up blocking. And apparently that would be, dynamic pricing. They're expecting the Bears fans to want to travel and being able to charge some more money for that particular game, as opposed to the Tyreek Hill storyline would have been amazing around here. But would Dolphins fans have wanted to make the trip, and therefore you can charge more money for that? I don't know. I mean, I think you could have charged more money with Tyreek Hill's return in sort of dynamic pricing. But I was a little surprised, even with that sort of business aspect behind the scenes, as to Chicago being the one home opponent that they said we will not go to Germany and play that particular team, being the Chicago Bears.
Well, I don't know if it's truly a case where you can only protect one game. I just know that you remember the Chiefs gave up a home game for the International Series in 2015, and they played the
Lions
that year, and they gave up a home game. And I remember getting the story of how it happened to be the Lions, and what it was the league came to them and said, hey, we'd love for you to play Denver over in London. And that was the last year of Peyton Manning's career, and the Broncos wound up winning the Super Bowl that year. And the Chiefs said, no way. We're not. That's a deal breaker. We're not going to play the Broncos. We're not going to give up that game from Arrowhead Stadium. And while you're at it, don't ask about the Chargers or the Raiders either. So the Chiefs were very protective at that time, and I don't know why anything would have changed regarding those AFC West games. And then there were a couple other opponents that the league wanted that year. The Chiefs played the Steelers at home and the Bears at home, and the Chiefs said no to both of those as well. And so there were three other teams left, and the Lions were one of them, and that's the league chose. But the Chiefs said, at that point, when there were the three teams left, the Chiefs said, we don't care about any of these teams. You can take any of those three games you want. One of them was the Johnny Manziel Browns, the Dwayne Bowe Browns. That was the another one of the games the Chiefs offered up. I can't remember who the third opponent was. It wasn't very an attractive opponent, though, I can tell you that. So I think it's just more than one game that the home team can fight for there, and so I think there's sort of an agreement there. When a team agrees to give up a game, okay, you're not going to pick a premier opponent. Mm-hmm. And so it doesn't surprise me. The Chiefs fought for the Bears the last time around. Why would they not fight for the Bears this time around? And that's why this thing about the Chiefs playing in Germany next year against Carolina, be careful with that one. I'd be stunned if that decision had been made already And if you're the Panthers, are you going to give that game up? That might be
No
your one
way.
chance to see Pat Mahomes ever. I mean, who knows? That this might be it. So I don't think that's going to be that game. Hey, it could turn out to be that way, but right now, I know that decision's not been made, and it would surprise me if it does go that way eventually.
I would be surprised if anytime soon, and it could happen, but I'd be surprised if anytime soon the Chiefs only play 8 road games in a year where they have 8 home games, if that makes sense, where they play a neutral site game overseas. I'd be surprised if anytime soon a Chiefs road opponent ends up being neutral site in Germany or London or wherever, because that would seem to be an obvious game that a team would veto and say, no, man, we're not losing the Chiefs at home. Whether that be an AFC team that says, no, we're going to have a home field advantage against the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, or no, we're going to charge a lot of money for the Chiefs coming to town and Patrick Mahomes, and Chiefs fans travel, and Patrick Mahomes is the road show and the circus and all of that. No, we're not going to play that team in Germany. Sorry, NFL. It's just not going to happen. I'd be surprised if the Chiefs are a road opponent overseas anytime soon.
Yeah, and it's not just a financial thing; it's a competitive thing. I mean, do you really want to give up a game against a premier team, a good team, and play it on a neutral site? I mean, you're giving up maybe a little bit of a chance to win the game. And you go back to when the Chiefs they did play a road game. Well, they were scheduled for a road game internationally in 2018 when they were supposed to play the Rams in Mexico.
Yeah, that's right.
They ended up moving the game, but the game was initially scheduled for Mexico City, and the reason why, 2 reasons why. One was that, number one, no one knew how good Mahomes and the Chiefs were going to be that year, when they set that schedule. That was his first year as a starter. Number two, the Rams were moving into their new stadium, and as part of that deal, the league can pick one of your home games and move it to internationally. That's just the way that works, and you don't have as much say there as you would maybe otherwise if you were in your permanent stadium. And so that was the reason for that one. Then the next year, the Chargers were in the same dilemma. They were waiting for their stadium for SoFi to be finished, and so they were playing in the soccer stadium that year, a temporary stadium, and so the league said, okay, we want this game, even though you might not want to give it up. We want it in part because of who it is, but also because we promised Mexico, Mahomes and the Chiefs last year, and we didn't deliver. We feel like we need to deliver on that this year. So, that's why they kind of were a road team in 2018. But you're right. I don't think I think you'll see the Chiefs on the road as a road team in these international games only after a pretty bloody fight with the home team put up.
Where the NFL is essentially like, no, this is what's happening. All right, you're facing off against this team. It's going to be the Chiefs. It's going to be Mahomes, which is a little bit surprising as to whether it would be the agreeable to the Dolphins or not wanting the Bears to be one of those teams, because the Dolphins being a home game against a pretty good team, and the number 6 team at the ESPN Power Rankings that came out yesterday, with you guys there, with the NFL Nation reporters and 80 some odd people that voted with this Power Rankings, Dolphins number 6, that you give up a home game against that team, which as an AFC team, it's there's postseason implications, there's tiebreakers, there's conference opponents and things like that, whereas Bears or Lions or one of those teams doesn't really have that. And I think there's probably also maybe an understanding that one of those marquee games, the Eagles, the Bills, the Bengals, and divisional games aren't going to be the international game anyway. So it's kind of like Miami. Is it Green Bay? Is it the Jets? Is it Chicago? Is it Detroit? It is a little surprising it ended up being an AFC team that had so many storylines surrounding it with Tyreek returning to Arrowhead.
Yeah, it is, but you can't protect everything.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty clear between the league and the Chiefs, this was one of the games that both of them were comfortable giving up. You weren't going to give up. I pretty strongly, the Chiefs weren't going to give up the AFC West games without a pretty good fight, and they weren't going to give up, obviously, that Bears game, and then you take the Bengals, Bills, and Eagles out of it. Do you want to put that kind of game on at 6:30 out on the West Coast in a quote unquote lesser TV window? So there's a limited amount of games there, and so this was one of them. And it, when this game was announced way back in whatever it was, when it was in February or March, where the league said, okay, the Chiefs are going to be a home team for a Germany game this year. I looked at their opponents. I said, okay, it's going to be either Detroit, Chicago, or Miami, and I can't see the league or the Chiefs giving up those other games for a 9:30 East Coast game. So, it really didn't surprise me that it was Miami.
Yeah, and I don't think the Chiefs or I don't think the league would have a lacking suitors that the Chiefs' home opponents to go and play in Germany. I think everybody would be lining up, and if it's like, hey, Miami, you guys want to play? And yes, we'll play them in Germany. We will play them in we will. You sure? Yes, absolutely. And then Chicago's calling. Whoa, we wanted to play. Detroit's calling. Why can't we? Bengals. No, let's play in Germany. We really want to. We would love to go to Germany. We got Bengals fans there. Yeah, all 9 home opponents every other year or whenever the Chiefs are going to go back and play overseas will volunteer as tribute to go and play the Chiefs, in a neutral site in London or Germany or wherever. So there won't be for a lacking of want to by opponents in that one.
There you go. Yeah.
Adam Teicher is our guest. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. I do want to talk about the power rankings, where the Chiefs rank, looking at some of the AFC teams, and then also, again, we knew the opponents of the schedule, but how good those opponents are going to be this year now that it's post-free agency, post-draft. We'll do that with Adam Teicher. Chris Jones continues his Frank Clark courtship on behalf of, I don't know, himself, but maybe not the team. And if there are any other moves that could be made by the Chiefs. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue our conversation with Adam Teicher, Chiefs Insider from ESPN. More Zone next.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
The NBA playoffs continue on ESPN Radio.
3-on-2. Schroeder to James into the lane. Puts it up and in.
Fresh off knocking out the defending NBA champion Warriors, the Lakers head to Denver to face the top-seeded Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals.
Denver pushes right to left. Jokic runs the floor. And dunks.
The NBA playoffs are on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Hey, Kansas City, Stephen St. John here, and I've got amazing news from Window Nation. You can modernize and reinvest in your home today with new windows from Window Nation, and it's their best deal. 0% interest for 5 full years. On top of that, you'll get 2 windows free with every 2 you buy. It's a double deal. You'll get all the advantages of more comfort, lower energy bills, higher home value, and jealous neighbors, all with the impeccable construction and expert installation Window Nation is known for. They've placed nearly 2 million windows with 96% perfection, making them one of the top window companies in the country. If your home is over 15 to 20 years old, this is one of the smartest investments you can make. Call today, 866-90NATION, or visit windownation.com and lock in these incredible savings. 0% interest for 5 years. That's 60 months, interest-free, plus 2 windows free with every 2 you purchase. It's only for a limited time, so don't miss out. Call 866-90NATION or go to windownation.com. That's 866-90NATION or windownation.com and tell them Stephen St. John sent you.
Hey guys, Matt Coker here from West Coast Men's Health to let you know that you don't have to take Viagra for the rest of your life. Acoustic wave therapy has changed the game. Trust me, I've seen guys come in who have completely given up.
record every week, and it wasn't, as we know. So don't make too much of it this time of year, but if it turns out to be that, it's going to be a really interesting season, no doubt.
Yeah, just funny just looking through here. It's like, okay, who did the Chiefs play? Number 2, power rankings, Bengals. Number 3, Eagles. Number 4, Bills. Okay, number 5, 49ers. Hey, they don't play them. Number 6, Dolphins. Okay, number 7, Cowboys. They don't play them. Number 8, Baltimore Ravens. They don't play. Number 9, Chargers. Number 10, Jags. Then you even go down. Number 12, Jets. Number 13, Lions. Number 14, Minnesota. I mean, they've got the top 14 teams. I mean, they got 10 games against the teams in the top 14, which is crazy. The top half of the league. So yeah, how did it? So did you guys just rank 1 through 32, and then they add it all up? Because the Chiefs were number 1 before, they're number 1 after. Bengals didn't move. Eagles went from 4th to 3rd. Bills went from 5th to 4th, and the 49ers slid from 3rd down to 5th after the free agency and draft, but no movement by the Chiefs, which isn't that big of a surprise.
Yeah, we don't rank them 1 through 32. We do it through matchups. They'll give you a theoretical matchup. Hey, who do you think would win between Seattle and Jacksonville? And you click and you click the team you think would win, and you do enough of these things. I mean, there's thousands of votes.
Wow.
So, we vote. I can vote 100 times or more if I want to. After enough of these votes, and there's thousands of them, they sort of get a ranking that way. That's sort of how they do it. It's not a 1 through 32 thing.
Yeah, I read the description. It says our Power Panel is a group of more than 80 writers, editors, and TV personalities that evaluates how NFL teams stack up against each other. Then it ranks them 1 through 32. Okay, yeah. I guess it was just, I read it as just a general description of power rankings 1 through 32. Here are how teams stack up 1 through 32, but specifically against each other. That's fascinating to see what that algorithm would be when you click on this, click on that, when it's all said and done. We were discussing this last week. We're talking about the Bengals being second to last game of the season. The divisional opponents will always be there. The Raiders and the history that surrounds that, Broncos and the winning streak against them, and the Chargers and how great those games have been. But right now, when maybe we look at opponents and biggest threats to what the Chiefs want to accomplish, and maybe even bad blood, are because it used to be Chiefs and Raiders. That bad blood was there, man. Back in the day, we see the videos, we see the fights. We saw Marty that hated the Raiders. It was Raider Week. Are the Bengals now the biggest rival to the Chiefs when it comes to the team that is most likely to block them, but also the teams that just don't like each other?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question. The Burrowhead stuff really got under the Chiefs' skin last year. I mean, they were mad about that. So you take that, and you take the stuff the mayor had to say, using that as a little bit of fuel, and then you take the fact that the Bengals had that 3-game winning streak against the Chiefs that the Chiefs only broke in the AFC Championship game last year. And I think that is a rival. That's certainly from the Chiefs' standpoint, but I think from the Bengals as well. Mm-hmm. So if you're asking me who what a revenge game, if you will, for the Chiefs is on their schedule this year, that's the one. Even though the Chiefs sort of got the better, they won the most important of the 2 games last year between the teams, but still, that's kind of a revenge game. I mean, that'll. Beyond whatever playoff implications that game might have and home field and all that stuff, it's just going to be some bad blood out there. I don't think there's any doubt.
I'm wondering what or who the next team could be in line to be like that big rival to the Chiefs, because for a little bit it was the Ravens. Chiefs and Ravens games with Mahomes. Chiefs and Ravens games were so much fun. Lamar there, Mahomes with that crazy 4th down play at home running to his right. Ravens game on the road when they deked Marcus Peters on the long touchdown pass to Mecole Hardman, and then the loss there with the fumble with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and it was Chiefs and Ravens. Then it became Chiefs and Bills and back and forth, and now it's clearly sort of solidly Chiefs and Bengals, but I don't know, is there room for another team to sort of step up in there? If there is, I guess it might be the Chargers, but I didn't think anybody would surpass the Bills in terms of that. It's Chiefs and Bills, and now it's obviously Chiefs and Bengals. So it doesn't feel like a team could surpass that, but we've seen that already twice, that a team that we thought was there to be the Manning to the Brady of Patriots and Colts.
Yeah, well, I think you got to beat the Chiefs in the playoffs to sort of be on that level, to be on that radar, and the two teams to do that in the Mahomes era were the Brady Patriots, and that was certainly a rival of the Chiefs in those early Mahomes years. And then the Bengals did it, so now they're the ones. And if you're looking at it, you're looking for somebody else. The Bills could certainly get that done. They're good enough, I think, to win a game here and in the playoffs, or even if the game's in Buffalo. And the Chargers may be that team, but another team I'm looking at is Jacksonville. With their quarterback down there, that's another team that could climb into that discussion before too much longer, maybe even this year. So. That's another team to look at.
Yeah, but you got to have a 3-letter first name and a last name that starts with the letter B. If you can't find that quarterback, then don't even try. So it's Tom Brady or it's Joe Burrow. That's it.
There you go.
Adam Teicher is...
Now that Brady's gone, now the Chiefs are down to one team that can beat them.
That's it. That's the only one. And you know what team should be looking for? Not the next Patrick Mahomes, the next 3-letter first name and last name that starts with B. Enough with the Stroud and Young and Richardson and Pickett or anything like that. Go find a guy with the last name of B and then rename him with 3 letters in his first name. Just do that. Or a nickname. If it was Tua Bungavailoa, Miami would have a better chance, but it's not. It's Tungavailoa.
Okay.
Adam Teicher from ESPN is our guest. A couple of quick ones for you as we look at the personnel, the roster right now, as we're sort of the beginning of what is phase 3 of the NFL offseason. Phase 1 and free agency, phase 2, the draft, phase 3. Okay, now you sort of try to solidify your roster with veterans or trades. What are you most confident about? Patrick Mahomes is not the answer, can't be the answer. It is the answer, but we're eliminating that. What are you most confident about the Chiefs, whether that be a personnel grouping or something that you feel you don't? It doesn't keep you up at night thinking about the Chiefs and some issues that may happen this year.
The Chiefs don't keep me up at night, so that's Andy Reid's problem and Brett Veach's problem.
Yeah, that's true.
Them maybe, but. I was thinking about this the other day, since the draft has been over, and I'm just wondering, do you feel like the Chiefs are a better team? The roster's better now than it was for the Super Bowl last season? I don't know that it is. I think it has that potential maybe, but, these things never turn out the way you want. Not everything, not all the questions you have are resolved favorably. That's never how it works. And, at Edge, for instance, they traded Frank Clark and Carlos Dunlap for Felix and for Amenahue. Is that a good trade? I think potentially it could be a good trade, but we just don't know. I mean, both guys, it's their first time in a Chiefs uniform, and for Anubuike Uzama, it's going to be his first time in the NFL, so you just don't know. And, on offensive tackle, they traded Orlando Brown and Andrew Wiley for Juwan Williams and Donovan Smith. Is that a good trade? I think it is. I think it has the potential of being a really good trade for the Chiefs, but you just don't know. And I don't know if that's they're better there. Are they better at wide receiver? The Chiefs are showing an extraordinary amount of confidence in Kadarius Toney, and maybe he'll reward that. But I just don't know. I think they have some depth at wide receiver, but I think it's to me it looks like a lot of second and third receivers, and not necessarily one big guy that they can go to. But maybe they're right. Maybe that Toney does develop into that guy. So I think at corner they're going to be better than they were last year, even though they made no significant additions. I think just with those young guys growing up a little bit and having a year under their belt, I think McDuffie looks to me like a guy who's primed to have a really big year if he can stay healthy. So I think they're better there. But I just wonder, taken as a whole, are they better now than they were 3 months ago or whatever it was?
Yeah, it's interesting to view it that way because they exchanged Juju with Rashee Rice essentially, and McCole Hardman with Richie James. So is that better or worse? Well, I'd say last year's wide receiver group was better because I knew what Juju was going to bring to the table. I knew what McCole Hardman was going to bring to the table. Now Hardman didn't play in the Super Bowl, But it doesn't mean that Richie James would play in the Super Bowl this year. But if you're just looking at personnel-wise and the way they're restructuring this wide receiving core, it's interesting you put it that way, that, you know, that they have a bunch of number 2 and number 3 receivers and not necessarily that number 1, which they had for a long time. They had that number 1. And then they had a bunch of what felt like number 3 and 4 receivers that were after Tyreek Hill. And they don't have that Tyreek Hill guy, but they've got an MVS that feels like a 2 or a 3. They've got 2 second-round picks on the team. They've got a third-round pick, at least what they've actually spent in capital. Sky Moore, Rashee Rice, 2 second-rounders, and then Kadarius Toney they spent a third-rounder on, which is kind of a part of this draft. So, you know, you could say they spent a first-round on Felix Udike-Uzomah, then they spent a second-rounder on Rashee Rice, and then their 2 third-round picks, Kadarius Toney and Wanya Morris. You know, so, because they gave that up. So it's a different way of sort of building that wide receiving core. And I don't know if there's another move or not. Rashee Rice was sort of that move in the second round to move up and grab him if there's a trade or something like that. Like, I don't know what the next would it be Frank Clark? Would it be another offensive lineman? If they're going to, they don't have a lot of cap space, but if they're going to add, what position do you think they'd be looking to add that they feel like, you know, could use the most help at this point? A veteran guy or a trade or something like that?
Yeah, you know, you can look at a number of those spots. You know, certainly the defensive line is one of them. But let's just say the Chiefs do re-sign Frank Clark. How much better does he make you? Is he better than Charles Omenihu? I mean, I don't know. I don't think so. Certainly the Chiefs don't appear to think so.
I think he gives you. I think he gives you insurance for you know, what you're hoping is a 20-game season.
Okay, you know, and that's not a bad thing to have. Yeah. But you know, I think people overlook Mike Dana a lot of times.
I agree. Yeah.
And, you know, I think Mike Dana at this point of his career is probably a better player than Frank Clark is. So, you know, so I think I'd rather have him right now than Frank Clark. And you know, I think if Clark came in, he'd be no higher than what on your defensive end depth chart? Would he be any higher than 5th? You know, would he be above FAU right now?
No.
Maybe he would, but
I mean, I wouldn't put him
know,
there.
I think you need, and you can't. You got to let the kid have some room to grow. You can't crowd him out. I mean, if you thought enough of this guy to pick him in the first round, and not trade out like you know Brett Veach talked about a little bit after the draft. That, you know, even though you maybe had some opportunities. I feel like you got to let him grow, and so you know, I just don't know that that's you know, a logical spot that they can do a whole lot better than the guys they have now. So to answer your question, that would probably be it. You know, maybe a wide receiver, but it's not the bodies right now. Wide receiver, it's that top end guy, and you're not going to find that top end guy right now. So it'd probably be on the edge, but. I'm not sure, again, that would do them a whole lot of good either.
Yeah, if you're going to find that top-end guy, it's going to be via trade, and we'll see if that's anything that Brett Veach and the Chiefs are interested in. Adam Teicher from ESPN, our Chiefs insider. Adam, appreciate the time as always, sir. We will talk next week. Appreciate it.
All right, looking forward to it, Jason.
Absolutely. There's Adam Teicher. Great stuff from our Chiefs insider from ESPN as the power rankings there at ESPN 1 through 32. Interesting how they did that. They would click this team versus that team, this team. I just thought you would just rank them 1 through 32. Here's my 1 through 32 power rankings, and then we add them all up, and whoever has the lowest score, sort of like golf, is the number 1. And so on and so forth. But no, he said Chiefs and Jags. Who's a better team? Chiefs. Boom. All right, Chiefs and Bears or whatever. Maybe not specifically their own opponents, but interesting. He said he can vote as many times as you can vote up to 100 times. Or so there you go. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling. Even if the Chiefs are going to make a move, they would have to figure something out salary cap wise as well. We'll wrap up this hour. We'll talk with Les Norman coming up at noon, breaking the norm, get his thoughts on some Royals. But on the other side of the break, we'll talk to Todd Lebo. He's somewhere that I kind of wish I was at right now. I'm a little hungry, and now I'm jealous. We'll tell you why next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey guys, it's Todd Lebo. We're having a great time at Meet Mitch Barbecue, 95th and Mission. You got to come check us out. I'll be here till 1. Got great specials going on right now. $8.10 for their smoked wingies. You can get them dry. You can get them with rub, hot buffalo. to win, with your QR code. You can do that here. The grill is here if you want to check it out. You can also do that online or at Smoke and Fire. They've provided the grill for us. So it's a really cool place. They've done a great job with this restaurant, and the food is outstanding. We did not leave any food for you last week when Mitch brought it into the Border Patrol.
That's exactly right.
Some ends in and some sausage
Yeah.
in and some pulled pork. Marco took it and hid it away. I'm like, Marco, put that in the break room for everyone. He says, no, I'm hiding it away.
Yeah,
But Mitch Benjamin's a great guy, and the Meat Mitch is awesome. So we'll be here till 1 today having a good time.
Yeah, I was quite surprised when I didn't bring lunch in that day because I was told that that Mitch was bringing in some barbecue. I'm like, heck yeah! And then I get there and it's all gone. I'm like, what did he bring in, a bite for everybody? I didn't know that
There
it was
was
hidden.
enough for you guys to eat, I'm sure. But like Marco,
All right.
just real quick, grabbed it, hid it away. I'm like, Marco, that's not what we do. We're a family here.
No, good to know. Good to
Actually,
know.
hiding delicious food from me does sound like something my family would do.
True enough. But,
Barbecue not being left if you get there second, that's also something that happens in the family.
Oh, absolutely. That's the way it works. But this really is a really cool-looking restaurant in here. And, the barbecue game is competitive for sure. But Mitch has been winning awards for years as a competition barbecuer with his rubs and his sauces and everything he does and what he puts them on. And they've nailed it, hit it out of the park. We've had a lot of fun listeners come by, and they're getting signed up and having lunch. It's a great spot. If you're out and about, you want to come by here for lunch today, that's great. Do it. But if you haven't hit this place yet, you got to come check it out. 95th and Mission. It's Meat Mitch, and they're really nice folks, and they've got great stuff going on here today for us. But come get dinner here tonight. I know a lot of people are having grad parties and things like that. Think about them for catering. And if you want to buy anything online to ship it to someone out of town, you can do it at their website as well. They're really nice folks, and it's always National Barbecue Month in May. We're calling this National Barbecue Day today.
May 16th.
So today's the day to come get it done.
Yep.
And get yourself a drink too. They got these specials with Blue Note Crossroads whiskey with a mint mule or a summer sour, which I'm not going to have one because I'm working.
And you're driving. May the 16th be with you. That's what I've said about barbecue for a long time. And real quick, giving away a grill. What time are they giving away a grill?
The grill is going to be given away in about a week. So you can get signed up here.
Very
You
good.
come by here and you get signed up today, or you can sign up at Smoke and Fire or on our website. It's super easy. Scan to win thing. You sign up that way. So we're going to give that thing away in about a week. It's all part of National Barbecue Month.
Yeah.
So, but get here. I'll only be here till 1 o'clock. You want to come see me and talk to me about Pitt State track like I've already done with a nice listener? I'm here for it.
Nice.
I am ready to go.
We will do that. But Todd Lieba with all the Pitt State track opinions ready to go and firing off there at Meet Mitch, 95th and Mission. Todd, you're the man. Appreciate it, sir. And we'll continue letting people know where you are for the next hour. Thank you, man.
All right, guys. Meet Mitch. Come here. 95th.
Absolutely.
You can meet Mitch. Mitch is here. You want to actually come meet,
Oh, he
meet
is?
Mitch? He's here. Mitch Benjamin will shake your hand and tell you all about all the secret recipes. He'll do it.
Todd, tell Mitch about Jason's brother that was in the Brock's Fantasy Baseball Leagues back when before Mitch was in the when he was just winning the barbecue awards. My brother and brother-in-law, they were in a big baseball dynasty league every year together. So he's known Mitch back when he was in a garage band before he really
All
blew
right.
up.
Well, let's go. I'll
That's
try
right.
Brock's Fantasy League. Is that what it's called?
Brock's League. Yep,
And then
that's right.
maybe also let them know that 10 a.m. is a great time to bring barbecue to 810. Big fan of Mitch. Big fan of Meat Mitch.
That's right. Todd,
Are
you're
you begging right now?
Yes. Hands and knees.
He's
groveling.
actually on his knees. It's weird.
I'm
when he's doing
groveling.
this. Todd, you're the man. Appreciate it, sir.
All right, guys.
There's Todd Lieba. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. Les Norman coming up next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, Kansas City, Stephen St. John here. Let me tell you about my incredible experience with Border Magic. They just installed stunning custom concrete landscape edging around our entire home. Our landscaping now looks like a work of art. This concrete landscaping edging will improve your curb appeal and enhance your property value. I would recommend Border Magic to anyone. Check out images of their work at southkc.bordermagic.com. Border Magic, a perfect cost-effective way to create a gorgeous first impression of your home. Call Border Magic today.
Erectile dysfunction affects nearly 50% of men over age 50. But even with so many men affected, finding a trusted provider to treat the condition isn't so simple. This is Jeff, the CEO of Promenic Restorative Men's Health, and I'm excited to announce the opening of Heartland Men's Health right here in Kansas City. As a Promenic affiliate, Heartland Men's Health can offer men with ED the latest treatment protocols which are shown in medical studies to be effective in nearly 90% of men. And unlike groups that only offer wave therapy or online pharmacies that just sell pills, we offer a variety of treatments to help you get the results that you want. You should also know that Heartland Men's Health is a true medical practice, which means our providers have access to a complete range of treatment options and even treatment combinations to get you back on track. You may even find that you're performing like you haven't in years. So call Heartland Men's Health today. Your initial visit is only $99 and includes a medical consult, blood work, and if medically advised, a test dose. And if that test dose doesn't work in the office, your visit is free. Call 844-447-6600 or go to heartlandmenshealth.com.
At Shamrock Roofing and Construction, we've drafted our team, picked the top players, and trained hard in the offseason. So when severe weather strikes, one call does it all. Shamrock Roofing and Construction. Call 913-850-6556 for a free estimate today.
Interested in working at a great local Kansas City golf company? Want a job that comes with golf privileges and discounted merchandise? Then look no further than Orion Golf, now hiring for several positions. For more info, go to oriongolf.com. With 9 courses in the Kansas City metro area, both in Kansas and Missouri, you'll be sure to find the right fit for you. Just go to oriongolf.com and apply online today. Or call 816-PAR-GOLF. That's 816-PAR-GOLF.
Check out Kansas City's next generation arcade and sports bar, Double Tap KC in the River Market. Full bar and kitchen, TVs everywhere so you never miss your favorite sporting event, and 50-plus games in a private VR bay. See for yourself or check out our website to learn more at doubletapkc.com.
When you need a battery, it's Wholesale Batteries. Since 1977, Wholesale Batteries is one of the largest full-line battery suppliers in the Midwest, serving commercial, industrial, OEM, and retail customers. Call 913-342-0113. Wholesale Batteries, we give you the power.
This is Stephen St. John. QC Kinetics is in the business of giving people back their quality of life and providing much needed relief for chronic joint pain. And not just providing that relief, but doing it in the most non-invasive way possible, using regenerative treatments from your body's own natural biologics. Where is your joint pain? In your knees, hips, shoulders, or back? Well, QC Kinetics concentrates these impactful treatments right at the source of your pain. And best of all, you walk into the office and walk right out after treatment. No surgery, no downtime, and patients are raving about the results. So what does living life to the fullest look like for you? Finally being able to play golf, hike, walk your dog, enjoy time with your family, whatever it is, don't wait one more day. Get started today with a call to QC Kinetics for your complimentary consultation. 816-412-6299, located off 435 in State Line and in Gladstone. 816-412-6299. That's 816-412-6299. QC Kinetics.
The Zone with Jason Anderson.
When you just talk about practice, we sitting here, I'm supposed to be the franchise player, and we're in here talking about practice. I mean, listen, we talking about practice. Not a game. We talking about practice.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
We talking about practice, man.
All right, Les Norman hanging out with us here on a noon hour, Tuesday edition of The Zone. Les Norman, breaking the norm, presented by TruckMovers.com, First Federal Bank of Kansas City, and Amazing Garage Floors. Tell them Les sent you. Les, what is up, man? How are you, sir?
2 hits, man. 2 hits.
That's all they got. They got 2 hits.
And late. Thank you, Mr. Massey, for breaking it up.
That's right.
How are you guys doing?
We are doing fine. My son got 3 last night, so he wasn't going up against Michael Waka. He was going at 36 miles an hour for the 7-year-old, but he did come away with 3 rips.
Old, man. For 7 years old, that is Michael Waka.
He came away 3 for 3 last night,
Nice.
so perfectly fine with that. It was actually, you know what? I wasn't planning on doing this, but we like to talk about some family things from time to time. But last night for Mother's Day, the moms coached. the dads sat in the stands and watched, and all the moms went out there, coached first base, third base, had the lineup. Mom controlling the pitching machine, putting the catcher's gear on, making sure they were all good to go, putting them in their positions in the field. So it was a lot of fun. It was a different experience sitting back and just watching.
Were you over in the park defending your wife from yelling at the kids?
No, my wife was like, I didn't know how loud I should be. She was like, one of the kids, there was we had second and third and one out, nobody at first. And our team is actually really good about not running when the ball is hit to the left side if you're at second base. Yeah. And the ball was hit to the left side, and the kid at second, who's actually one of our smarter base runners, just took off running. And in my mind, I'm thinking, I bet he's thinking there's somebody at first base. And so he starts running, and she's like, no, like telling him to go back. But he gets to third and, slides, and he's safe. And my wife gave a look of like, whoops, sorry. Like, it's all good. And she was like, well, I just didn't know, like, should I yell down there before of like, hey, you can't head this way when there's less than, when there's nobody at first, whether there's 1 out, 2 outs, whatever it is. Like, she's like, I don't know. I just wasn't comfortable doing that. I'm like, just yell at him, let him know that, hey, 1 out, nobody at first. Be smart, right? You got to use your head. Be smart this way. Let it get through, then come this way. Fly ball, you're still pausing. We do that every single time. So in theory, we've had them for 3 years. It should be, driven into their head. But they're 7 years old, though.
Yeah.
Less. Yeah. But yeah, they had a blast. They had a lot of fun, and the kids had a blast. So it was cool to sit back and just watch. And it's funny, I got a lot of enjoyment out of just simply watching Everett in the field and watching him in his at-bats. Without having to, worry about like the whole team where this guy's positioned, that guy's positioned. I could just video and take pictures and stuff. It was kind of cool being in from that spot.
Well, way to go, Moms.
Yes. And we won. We won 15-7. So there you go.
Nice. Good job. And she's obviously a better coach. And,
That's right.
Yeah, but that's good. You got to sit back every once in a while, just enjoy it, and just be a dad without having to cross the both lines of dad/coach. So that's fun. But get back in there, man.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun to do that, and the moms had fun doing it as well. So Les Norman, breaking the norm. He is our guest. All right, so 2 hits last night. That ain't great. We can talk about some of the negative stuff that's here, but I wanted to start with this. They had their streak of 13 straight games with the home run snapped. The record for the Royals was 15 straight back in the early 2000s, where Les, they had some pretty freaking good offensive players on that team. So it's not exactly like, well, it was a fluke. They had one year where Chip Ambrose had like 3 home runs in 3 games, and Emil Brown, got hot, and Ken Harvey was crushing the ball. Like, it's not like that. It's like, no, it's Sweeney and Damon and Dye and Beltran and these guys that were on that team. It's like, yeah, they had a pretty good offensive team. Is there any bigger meaning that you look at in this season that has not been great, that they did have a stretch of 13 straight games where they hit a home run?
Well, I think overall, the good part about that is the consistency of a lot of young players that are contributing to that. Over the last 2 weeks, the Royals are 5th in Major League Baseball in a couple different categories of there's the runs scored and the batting average and all that. Ironically, 2 of the worst teams in baseball are the Royals and the Cardinals. And in the last 2 weeks, the Cardinals are 4th and the Royals are 5th, and they're both really close in offense. And so, as we talk about, they weren't scoring runs earlier, and man, what a dismal season, and what needs to change, and all those things. Just because that streak was broken, you really have to look at it and think, that's not a fluke for these young guys. It points back to me of when are they going to sign Vinny long term? The cool thing about it right now, and maybe this is what the Royals are waiting for, is in baseball, and I'm just talking hitting right now, there's that pendulum swing where you come in and Vinny's established himself as a good hitter, but then, and I think he got 1 hit out of his last, he was like maybe 1 for his last 15 or something like that, but he was hot for a while, still hitting 269, I think it is, which is great. 13 doubles and 7 homers. So that's fantastic.
On base 360. So
it's all outstanding. But now the pendulum has swung back, where all the advanced scouting across the major leagues is saying, okay, this is how we're going to pitch this guy, and obviously you can see that. And so now it's Vinny's job to this is where we really find out what kind of hitter he is, because it's still early in the season. He's going to be facing a lot of people that he hasn't faced yet, and they don't know him. But again, you have advanced scouting. You're seeing what other teams would do against him. So is Vinny Pasquantino going to be the guy now that makes the adjustments that the pitchers have made and now get the pendulum to swing back to the other side? It's that constant chess match of, okay, you hit us, we figured you out, now we're going to pitch you this way, now we've got you, can you get us back? And so if Vinny comes out of this where he starts to make those adjustments and the Royals don't lock him up, I feel like they should have locked him up already, but I can understand waiting to see what he does through this. And so a young team that's still hitting like this, I mean, we've seen a lot of these guys that started out just horribly. Massey's improved. MJ Melendez has improved. So Salvi, heck, it's almost hitting 300. Are you kidding me? Plus he's hitting home runs. So none of it's a fluke with this offense. It's a good young offensive team. The last thing I want to see is how are they going to adjust to the adjustments at almost that quarter point in the season.
So I'll give you a little quiz here. So it was 13 straight games with a home run. The Royals hit a total of 23 home runs. Do you want to take a guess as to how many different players took part in the 23 home runs over the 13 games?
Over the 13-game streak.
13-game streak. How many different players hit a home run?
I'll see 13.
Oh, well, you went higher than I would have guessed. It was actually 10. I would have guessed like 6 or 7 because I've just, this Royals lineup doesn't, give me a whole lot of faith throughout the course of the season, even though they've been playing better since May. But they had 10, so you were a little more optimistic than I would have been. Salvi had 6 over the 13 games, by the way. Salvi had 6.
That has a little bit to do with it.
So pretty good. Salvi with 6 of them, and in fact, 2 of the games, the one home run hit was by Salvi. So he had 6. Bobby Witt had 3. Freddie Fermin had 3.
Freddie Fermin was a sneaky dude in there.
Pasquantino 2, Melendez 2, Prado 2, Massey 2, Olivares 1, Isbell 1, and Dozier 1. So out of those 10, it was Saturday or Sunday late when I think it was the Sunday 9th inning or whatever when he hit a home run to left center against the Brewers in the middle of getting swept. They were down by 9-4, something like that, and they got a couple runs there in the ninth. So he did have one of those in that game on Sunday. They had 3. Salvi, Dozier, and Witt all hit home runs. But the thing that I took away from that is, I would say 7 of those guys, so Salvi, Witt, Pasquantino, MJ, Melendez, Prado, Massey, and then Edward Olivares, maybe 6 and a question mark for the others. And then you can throw in a question mark with Olivares, Isbell, and even Freddie Fermin. And then Dozier, the last one, and that was the last home run of the 23 that was hit, is the one that doesn't fit in terms of, okay, these guys might be parts of the future moving forward. That's I guess, also a part of maybe a bigger takeaway and meaning of the 13 straight rather than, they got hot for 13 games. Yeah, it's the second longest streak they've had. And they had a lot of really good players that had 15 straight back in the day. I need to go back and look at that 15 straight games to see how many different players hit the home runs. But
how much of that 13-game streak was at home?
That's a good question. So it would be the month of May. So luckily there's a clear line of there's a great marker with the Royals. So they had all but 3. So 10 of the 13 were at home in that big ballpark.
Again, even though you hear, I watch a lot of games on my phone throughout the day, so I'm watching. Oh, and by the way, one of them is not the Royals because I just love that. Never mind. But I love our TV providers throughout the Kansas City metro area.
It's great that you don't get to watch.
And other people, like I heard Goobs talking about it in an Angels game because he's the color guy for the Angels, and I think I heard Grant talking about it in the Padres game a couple weeks ago. But somehow the Royals will come up in some of these games, and they'll talk about still how Kauffman Stadium is not a homer-friendly ballpark. And so that just points to another thing where, you don't just get lucky on a big, long road trip and just hit home runs in 13 straight games. You've got guys that are driving the ball out of a ballpark that is not conducive to home runs. I mean, I was out there the other day, and Melendez hit one into the fountains, and that was the game where they just destroyed Chicago, like 12-4 or 12-5 or something like that. So the point is that it is legitimate that you've got these young guys that really have power and are driving the ball.
What's interesting is that game where they beat Chicago 12-5, Melendez was actually the only home run that day to extend the streak to keep going.
Yeah,
18 of the
a lot
23.
of doubles that game.
Yeah, 18 of the 23 were hit at Kauffman in this 13-game streak. So, something to be said for that. That they're doing it in. They didn't take a road trip to play the Reds, and a couple of these other teams where these new stadiums, like they didn't go there and play in a bandbox and hit shots that Didn't Dong on Twitter would say, well, that's a home run in 2 out of 30 ballparks. No, it's a home run in Kauffman, so it's probably 30 of 30. It's probably out. Unless it's a line drive to left field, and it would have been off the wall at Fenway. Visiting with Les Norman, he's our guest. One of the other things, a couple of other positives on this team, and I know that there could be plenty of negatives. They've lost 4 in a row, and they got 2 hits last night against the Padres. And Brad Keller actually just walked somebody else, so that's weird. They're not even playing right now, but he just walked somebody else.
Oh my gosh, I couldn't believe the line. I woke up this morning and looked at that line, and I just couldn't believe 8 walks. I mean, he's got 8 more walks than the person that has the second most walks in the big leagues. I mean, I feel bad for the guy, but I mean, he literally leads the major leagues in walks with 40, and the next person close to him is 32. Yeah,
it was such an obvious expectation when you've got the first or second team in walk rate with the Padres and the player that leads the majors in walks playing last night. That's surprising that those two things, the resistible force and the movable object going against each other, or maybe the opposite, whatever that might be. But a couple of other points on the offense. We've discussed, for a while that the struggles of Michael Massey, and he couldn't walk, and he was striking out, and he just looked lost, and he was chasing, and he was swinging at bad pitches and things like that. Part of the Royals, how are they hitting the ball so hard and they're not scoring runs? It's like, well, because they're not hitting the ball very often. They can hit the ball hard, but they're striking out too often. So, great. Right. They hitting the ball like 98 miles an hour. Yeah, they had 3 times they did that. So, great. But Michael Massey was clearly searching, and he was in a funk. And he got one of the hits last night, which is good. He and Vinny Pasquantino. The decisions that are being made, David Lesky wrote about this, the decisions that are being made by Michael Massey, swing decisions. How long does it take for a player to sort of maybe figure that out? Is it innate that he just had to get back to being who he was because he's not a guy that had a lot of strikeouts and few walks? He doesn't profile as that player in the minors, but he was that player this year. And now he's profiling as a guy that's taking walks. He's hitting the ball hard. And David Lesky wrote about the pitches he's now swinging at, the pitches he's taking is just night and day to what he was doing when he was really struggling. The swing decisions by this team, and maybe specifically Michael Massey, how difficult is that when you're going through a slump to sort of get back into just doing what you've really been known for as you profile as a hitter?
The maturity and the sign of whether a guy is going to stay in the major leagues a long time is not just their ability to adjust, but their ability to mature enough and ride out those streaks. I mean, what happened to Brady Singer when he decided to start throwing a changeup? What happened to Mike Moustakas when he stopped trying to pull every single pitch? Look what's happened to Salvi when he's not trying to pull every single pitch that's 18 feet outside off the plate. And so you could see that Michael Massey was, with Telesky's, good visual there of watching that. You could see that he was struggling. You could see that every time he came up to the plate, he was carrying that scoreboard, those statistics on top of his shoulders. And so you press and you want to hurry up and get a hit. And that pitch by Michael Wacha last night, it was a pitch that he would want back because if he throws it, 2 inches inside, that might be a ground ball to first base. He threw it right down the middle. But again, credit to Massey, those are the pitches you're supposed to hit. If a pitcher makes a mistake, you should hit that. But when a player that is struggling decides to give up effort, and I don't mean physical effort, but mental effort. You know, I know when I first got to pro ball and I was playing for Tom Poquette in short season, and I'd never hit with a wood bat before, and man, I was hitting 160 and just struggling and thought, you know what? This is not working. And I just got drafted and I'm hitting 160. So I may want to try to learn something and stop trying to do my own thing. And so I went to Pokey and said, hey, Pokey, listen, I'm not good with a wood bat. This is not what I'm used to. I'm pulling off the ball. I'm squeezing too tight. I don't have this weight shift you're talking about. I'm going to come in early every day. If you're here, you're here. If you're not, you're not. But I need to relearn. And so I'm just, whenever you play me, I'm going to do what you tell me to do. And went from 160 to 245 and ended up hitting a couple opposite field home runs, which I'd never done in my life. And so having that approach, then the next year hitting almost 400 and going from high A to promoted to double A, and then a year and a half later I'm in the big league. So when you stop controlling things yourself and you trust the coaches around you, and you trust, look, everybody that's in the big leagues is there for a reason. You're talented and you've worked hard and you put up the numbers and they see potential and ability in you. And so you wouldn't be there if you couldn't handle it. It just becomes both a mental thing and a pride thing. Are you going to give up your pride when you're struggling? Are you going to stop pressing mentally and just let the game come to you? And when you do that, then your best ability takes over. Your hand-eye takes over. Your ability to pick up pitches you should swing at and you don't swing at. It's a mind shift and a whole paradigm shift in how you approach hitting. When you do that, then you fulfill your potential, and it looks like Massey's starting to do that.
Yeah, his first 23 games, he had 0 walks and 31 strikeouts.
Yeah, that's not a good stat.
His 13 games he's played since then, it's 6 walks and 13 Ks. So much
that's more respectable.
Yeah, much better. And in that time, by the way, so if you're talking about swing decisions, taking a walk, striking out less, in that time he's batting .340 and getting on base at .455 and slugging .570 for an OPS over 1,000. That's in 13 games. So I mean, it's been like a stark contrast, and maybe it's just something clicking, whatever. Either way, right now, I mean, in a night where the Royals get 2 hits, he's one of them. And he was a guy that would not have been one of them to get a hit. He would have been the guy that would have struck out, 3 times out of 4 at-bats and maybe hit a weak ground ball. But he's hitting the ball hard when he's hitting it, and he's getting on base, and he's taking his walks, and he's doing what he needs to do. And he's OPSing over 1,000.
Yeah, you could see the difference. We'll go back to that night where they beat the White Sox 12-5. We had that was fantasy camp reunion night. So we were out in the Hall of Fame suites out there, but I was still watching the game. I was talking to guys. And I was watching, it was the one at bat where Massey hit an opposite field single that drove in a run, and maybe 2 runs. I can't remember exactly. I think he had an RBI.
He got 1 RBI. He was 1 for 4 with an RBI that particular night.
Yeah, so I think that was but watching him the whole night, the pitches that he was taking and swinging at, you could see that he was a little bit more locked in, even on swings and misses. On swings and misses, you can be locked in and just miss a pitch because a pitcher makes a good pitch. But when your timing is good, your balance is good, when you're hitting balls the other way, not because you're dragging the bat through the zone, but because it's an outside sinker or a backdoor curve or slider or a changeup that you didn't open up too soon and tighten up, that you stayed back and just went with the pitch and drove it, which is what we've been seeing Prado do for 2.5 weeks now. That's when things are going to start clicking. And so again, on the maturity side of it, when you're making outs, or you hear people, oh hey, it's good swings, just take good swings, good. Well, that doesn't translate to statistics immediately, but you have to be mature enough to understand that I may not be getting a hit today, but I swung and tried to take that outside pitch the other way, and now Massey's hard work there, and a lot of the other guys' hard work, including guys like Prado. That's starting to pay off because I'm watching how hard he hit the ball the other way, how that 1 inch off the inside corner that's called for a ball, he saw it the whole way and didn't just get lucky because he wasn't ready to. He would have been ready to turn on it. He got his foot down early. His balance was good. He just didn't swing at it because he's seeing the ball deeper out of the pitcher's hand versus, well, I'm going to go ahead and swing at this pitch if it's close just because I need to get a hit. All of a sudden you're swinging at a curveball in the dirt and you're building this pile of dirt on top of your head. So I'm watching these guys take at bats when they start to even take pitches well or hit balls hard, and the ball, they're going to where they should. I mean, watch Prado hit double to right center. So then they shift him to right center, and then they throw him inside stupidly, and then he pulls another double into left center or right center. So, does the opposite. So it's all a part of watching their at-bats, watching what they're doing. And it's not just about the result of did they get a hit or not? What was their exit velocity? Are pitches down the middle that a pitcher makes a mistake on? Are these young guys fouling them off and missing their pitches consistently? That's how you know a guy's not going well when you get your pitch. Because the big league is all about, Cal Ripken said, you might get one pitch a game that's a good pitch to hit. Don't miss it.
Mm-hmm.
And he was right. And I took that. And I remember hearing him say that before I got to the big leagues. Of course, I would only have like one at bat every 384 days, so it may not have mattered with me, but you get the idea. These guys are starting to launch on pitches, and even borderline pitches that you shouldn't necessarily hit, they're still hitting hard. So that's where you can start to see that it's not a fluke. That they're starting to give mentally, give that cerebral, okay, I'm going to stop thinking so much, do what I'm told, work hard on it, let the game come to me, and stop looking at the batting average. Jamie Quirk once said, man, if you're worried about your batting average, you've got something to worry about. And obviously this is a generation where, I mean, Nate Eaton is in the big leagues. He's hitting 048.
Yeah.
He's in the big leagues, right? I mean, Massey's only hitting 221, but what's he hitting over the last 10 games? So big difference in change, and this is the generation of they're going to stick with you when they see something in you.
Yeah, the Nate Eaton stat that Josh told me in the previous hour, I haven't put it on the air because I just thought about it when you said Nate Eaton. Nate Eaton right now has as many hits at the plate as he has given up on the mound. 2 hits at the plate, and he's given up 2 hits pitching. So probably not great.
You know what? Every 14 days, he's thanking his lucky stars when he opens that paycheck, and I would be too if I was him.
And you know what? If that was 5 years ago, if that was a pitcher in the national, or a couple years ago, a pitcher in the National League on May 16th, you'd be pretty proud of that guy. That guy's got 2 hits and has only given up 2. What an amazing year that guy's having.
It's like Ohtani, man. It's like Ohtani
that's right,
gets 2 hits, except that's in the same game.
That's right. Gives up only 2 hits, but yet gets 2 hits. Goes and wins the game almost single-handedly in that one. Les Norman is our guest. Real quick on the, you mentioned Vinny and starting to struggle. I have no idea if there's a correlation with, going to Milwaukee, even though he's a Virginia kid, but family was there in Milwaukee. There's the video of him talking to his mom when he was on deck. She was taking pictures, and he's like, they've got people to do that. You don't have to take pictures of me, right? And he went 0 in Milwaukee. And Prado last night, the first time as a big leaguer, he returns to a field and a stadium that he played in when he was in high school, playing some playoff games and some showcase events when he was a high schooler before drafted by the Royals, and tons of family and friends there. His previous 7 games, he had 5 strikeouts. Last night alone, he was 0 for 4 with 3. Is there something to that when you got a couple of young guys, when maybe it's a little bit different than just playing a general game, when Prado was playing in a place where so many people are coming out to watch him play, and he played as a high schooler?
It could be, yeah. I mean, you could press because, you do want to show up for your hometown people that you grew up. I mean, I remember the first time we went to Chicago, played against the White Sox, and this was before interleague play. And I had like 50 people on my pass list and another 25 that just showed up and bought their own tickets, and batting practice was psychotic. It was, just seeing everybody and spinning around. Now, I didn't play that entire series, so that was a little bit easier for me. But again, I remember just then being nervous, like, oh man, if I get a pinch hit appearance. Now, I did go out on deck and then got pinch hit for, pulled back in before I got out there. Just being nervous before in batting practice, like, oh man, all these people come here to watch me play. I mean, I remember when I got called up my very first time, and it was in Milwaukee. It was the last game of a road trip. I just joined them there, and I got to go out on the field and just catch Kevin Napier in between innings. And, I had 100 people at that game because I'm from Chicago, and that's only like a little hour and a half away. So that made me nervous. So when you're growing up and you're starting and you want to produce for your hometown fans, and then you're facing a guy like Michael Wacha and other guys.
On last night. Yeah.
Yes, he was definitely on, and he's been a stud his whole career so far. So, there is something to that. There could be a little bit of pressure. But again, you're a big leaguer, man. You got to put that behind you. And for 2.5 hours, man, you got to shut that down, and you just got to go to work.
That is cool, though, and we'll take a time out, and we have one more segment with it. That is cool, though, that when you're growing up, and you go to some Padres games, and then as a high schooler, you got showcase events, and you've actually hit a home run there as a high schooler in that stadium, and then you walk out there wearing a professional uniform in the big leagues, and you're, getting in the same batter's box that you got in when you were in high school, 6-7 years ago. That is it's got to be a pretty cool and special feeling that maybe some memories come flashing back, and you're like, man, as a junior and a senior, where am I at now? Yeah.
Yeah, your buddy's ragging on you, and then they start remembering all those goofy nicknames or things you did, and then you just got to hey, just remember which side of that fence I'm on right now, buddy. Which side you're on, pal.
That's exactly right. Yep. Remember when you were out here with me? Now you're not. All right.
And I still am.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. We'll take a time out. We'll come back hanging out with Les Norman. Breaking the Norm, presented by TruckMovers.com, First Federal Bank of Kansas City, and Amazing Garage Floors. Tell them Les sent you. We'll take a break. A number of things I want to get to. Freddie Fermin, is he for real? Leadoff hitter for the Royals. And Aaron Judge, what was he looking at? We'll find out next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch.
95th and Mission. Great specials going on today on National Barbecue Day. Be here till 1 o'clock. You can come on out here and get their wings for just $8.10. They've also got a special going on the smoked Angus beef short rib and loaded crispy JoJo potatoes. Awesome.
All right, so this is weird. So the music's been playing, but I didn't have my headset on, and I heard a commercial playing somewhere.
So
I'm just sitting there like, all right, we're good. I'm watching some more things on the video of listening to like Aaron Judge and his explanation.
Kind of a long break.
And Josh is like, well, we're back. I'm like, no, I hear a commercial break playing. I've got time, Josh. Shut up.
I heard that too, and I just heard Dylan.
No, it's all my fault. It was all my fault.
Back there, I heard the commercial. I thought we were fine.
It's all my fault.
And it was like, we're
I'm a
back.
dummy.
I put my headphones on and
less I'm dumb. That's
jamming
all I
out to
can-
the music.
That's all I can
Both
tell
of you need to just stop making excuses. If you
No,
both
I'm
have
done.
to go to the bathroom at the same time, it's fine.
No, what I
Les, we're like the Sixers. The two of us can't do this by ourselves, okay?
What we were doing is something I want to talk to you about here in just a few
Just made
minutes.
Dylan Tyrese
It's-
Maxey.
It's not Royals related, but first I wanted to ask you about Freddie Fermin before I get into Aaron Judge of his explanation of what was going on last night. I wanted to ask you about Freddie Fermin. He is 28 years old today. Today is his birthday, so he's now a 28-year-old.
Happy birthday, Freddie.
Yeah, Freddie Fermin. Is Fermin for real? From what we've seen, I'll give you the numbers here. Starting from August last year in AAA, he OPS'd at 1,000 the rest of the way in AAA, August and September. He went to Winter League and OPS'd over 1,000. In spring training this year, he OPS'd at 912. In AAA this year, he OPS'd at 1,000, and so far in the big leagues, he's OPSing over 1,000.
Yeah.
So has something happened with Freddie Fermin that as a 27, 28-year-old, it's sort of clicked for him? And not saying that they've got a replacement for Salvi, but saying, is there a chance, is this real, that maybe they've got a backup for Salvi that isn't going to be an out, that they could replace Salvi and say, look, this guy's still going to be a good hitter, and he's hitting for power. What do you think when you see Freddie Fermin and those numbers sort of pop out starting last August?
I think pretty soon he's going to start catching when the Royals trade Selvey. There, I said it. I said it.
There you go.
I said it out loud.
You son of a gun.
I mean, you son of a gun. And I'm so glad that I can say things that Briscoe keeps adding in the cuts.
Hey.
And, that
I was
love
just
it.
writing
I
down the
love it.
timestamp of that one,
You
actually.
actually
Les,
did.
12:39.
Yeah.
I have it written down here.
You did write that down.
Absolutely. I get these messages on Twitter from my friends. Hey, man,
Yeah.
Briscoe did you dirty again. Yeah.
Not sure what they're talking
I'm not
about.
in studio today. So
Well-
I'm going to Usain Bolt you next time I see you, Briscoe. I'm going to run around in circles,
Well-
and you're going to be easy to catch.
It's not going to be for a few weeks because he's heading to Europe for 3 of them.
And I might not come back, but I will have you saying the phrase "Briscoe did you dirty" this Friday. So tune in at about 1:45, everybody.
There you go. So, okay, Freddie Fermin, yes, 28. So, a lot of these guys from the different countries. the
He's from
Latin
Venezuela.
countries, they're playing year round.
Yeah.
I mean, I played in Venezuela and I played in the Dominican Republic, and also a guy like Freddie Fermin. I mean, you're playing with big leaguers all the time. I remember coming up before I went to play. You're playing minor league ball. If I'm standing next to a guy like Greg Gagne or Steve Balboni or somebody like George Brett, even though he is retired, I'm standing next to George Brett in the food line. I'm not talking to George. I'm whispering to the guy behind me, like, please don't pee yourself in front. There's a George Brett standing right there. So, the rest, these guys are playing, and the big league mystique goes away, I feel like, a lot younger. I think that baseball has changed that a lot more because you get a lot of these minor league guys. They use minor league guys in spring training in big league games a lot more, and it gets them over that, oh, wow, it's so surreal, and the game's just so big now. So, but aside from that, Freddie Fermin I watch his at-bats, and, he only has 27 at-bats, but he's got 9 hits, and 4 of them are extra base hits. He got 3 homers and a triple mixed in there, for a catcher. So I think he's legit all the way around. I think a guy like Freddie Fermin is for real. Doesn't mean he's going to be an all-star next year. I mean, we don't know that, but I think with the small sample size, take a drink, Briscoe, that he's shown, still it's legitimate that he's proven himself to be, at least right now, backup. But if you're not looking at him as a potential starting catcher for the Royals, I don't know what you're doing, because it's already established you're not going to put Melendez back there, and you shouldn't. He should be an outfielder and a DH and maybe down the road a first baseman. So legit, yes, good hitter. Again, it's hard to put any young catcher up against a great catcher, hitter like Selvey. I mean, you can't do that with starting everyday catchers in the big leagues, let alone a guy that hasn't played a ton in the big leagues yet. But right now, Freddie Fermin is going to be a good successor. to Salvi if they decide to keep him. And, Salvi is still tradable at his age. And so I love him, but gosh, I wish we could get something for him if the Royals are thinking about this long term.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they signed him as a 20-year-old out of Venezuela in 2015 or 16, so it's taken a while. He's 8 years older now as a 28-year-old, but yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think it's certainly worth keeping an eye on. That there is a chance that nothing against Cam Gallagher. Right. But, when he was in the game, it was like, okay, he's there to give Salvi a rest. For Mean in the game, he's there to give Salvi a rest, but he's also hitting the ball hard. And those power numbers, extra base hits, stack up for what he's been doing since last August, whether that be in AAA or Venezuela Winter League or spring training or in AAA this year or at the big leagues. It's all sort of been the same power numbers that have been there with the extra base hits. So we'll see. We'll see with that. Last one for you. Aaron Judge last night, the broadcast, Dan Schulman with the Blue Jays brought it up in the middle of Aaron Judge's at bat. He peeked over a couple of times, and then he ends up hitting a home run. So there was a question about, okay, what's going on? Why is he peeking over at the dugout? And a lot of people had their different theories last night. Here's Aaron Judge's answer. It's about a minute or so less. Here's Aaron Judge's answer when he was asked about it in the clubhouse. I do want to preface this with the question was a part of this. We cut the question out, and when the question was asked, it took Aaron probably 3 or 4 seconds to figure out what the guy was even talking about. So it didn't seem like something that was being widely discussed in the Yankees dugout and then in the clubhouse before the media got there. But here's his answer.
Yeah, it was kind of a lot of chirping from our dugout, which I really didn't like in the situation where it's a 6-0 game, and I know Booney got tossed. Like, I was trying to save Booney by calling timeout. Like, hey, hold up here. Like, let me work here. So I was kind of trying to see who was chirping in the dugout. So it's 6-0. Like, Booney got tossed. Let's go to work now.
You were talking to your teammates, kind of checking on your Yankees teammates.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking like who's still talking here. It's 6-0, and our manager got tossed. He did his job. Like, let's go back to playing ball.
You feel that's unnecessary in that situation with that score?
I like Booney sticking up for me, and he always does. But I feel like after the manager does his thing, it's like, fellas, like, our pitcher still got to go out there and make some pitches. Like, we got the lead. Let's just go to work here. So it kind of, I said a couple things to some guys in the dugout, and especially after the game. But hopefully it won't happen again.
What do you make of that, Les, of hearing Aaron Judge after the game? Boone did get tossed in the middle of that at bat. It was a terrible called strike. It was a few inches below the strike zone. And even the Blue Jays broadcast was like, yeah, that's not close. And then Boone got tossed. So what do you make of him looking over into the dugout, eyes looking over, if it was into the dugout or whatever it was, to see who's still talking? And then, as he said, had some words with the guys in the dugout, and then especially after the game.
It's legitimate based on the timing of it.
Yeah.
I just think it's weird. I've watched this on Twitter now a bunch of times, and I'm even, as a matter of fact, I just brought it up in front of me right now, so I'm talking to you, I'm watching it. See, he doesn't turn his head a millimeter. All he does is move his eyes over. So, really, if you're that close, I'm not saying Aaron Judge, it's his 30th multi-homer game. That's a lot. I told my son that stat this morning. He's like, what? Yeah, 30 multi-homer games. You know how many multi-homer games I had in the big leagues? None, because I don't have any in the big leagues.
Well, you and Judge have combined for 30.
We have combined for 30 multi-homer games, so there's that stat. But look, he doesn't need to, so do I think he's cheating? No. But I don't – it's just weird to me. It's convenient of the timing of Boone getting thrown out and still chirping. So if it's really, if it's bothering you, call timeout because.
But he had already used his timeout to try to save Booney, so he can't. So then he would.
It was It was about 1 to 1.5 seconds.
Yeah.
After, so I'm looking at 1,001, 1,000, and then he starts to load. So maybe about 1.5 to 2 seconds. So yeah, maybe it's legitimate. It is what it is. Aaron Judge doesn't need to cheat, so I don't think he was cheating and looking at anybody. But it's just weird. The whole thing is just weird that he's that good of an athlete that he can do that.
The reason I don't think this ends up being something like the Astros is when somebody first caught on to what was going on with the trash cans, Then all of the internet sleuths went and found so many different games and hits with the trash cans. This would be pretty easy to find if Aaron Judge is doing this often in the batter's box, peeking over into the dugout, especially when their dugout is on the first base side.
Right.
It'd be difficult for him to do on the third base side, but
it would. And go back and look at the location of the pitch. That was a fat pitch that Aaron Judge crushes all the time. He doesn't miss that pitch. So, I would bet the farm that wasn't a cheating thing. It was just weird.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think the first response or first reaction oftentimes is to be skeptical of those things. But I watched it and I'm like, man, if I sit here and move my eyes to the right as far as I can and then look back, it takes a little bit to adjust again. And now I'm supposed to hit, like, is that really what I want to do to get the pitch, is to look over and then look back and then the pitch is coming at me and I need to know, okay, now it's a fastball, but it's also coming in at like 97 and my eyes are still adjusting from, like, sit there and look as far as you can to the right and then move your eyes right back and think that there's a pitch then coming right then. Like, that would be difficult to do if that was his form of cheating.
I would have lost all complete control of everything. I mean, as soon as you walk in and I start looking at the pitcher, and if I've only got one timeout and I've used it and I look away, there's a really good chance I'm probably going to take that pitch no matter where it is, because it just kind of gives me just a whole break in concentration. So I don't know, but the way I look at it is that he's just that good.
Yeah, it's the timing adds up and the explanation matches up. But yeah, it was interesting because they caught on to it pretty quickly, the Blue Jays broadcast, and then Twitter certainly did. And I watched it last night. So yeah, I didn't know what the heck that was, and I'm like, man, I hope it's not the Astros, because I like Aaron Judge, and it's fun to watch him hit, home runs that are 500 feet. So we'll see. Les Norman, Breaking the Norm, presented by each and every week. He's presented by TruckMovers.com, First Federal Bank of Kansas City, and Amazing Garage Floors. Tell him Les sent you. Les, you're the man. Appreciate it as always, brother. We'll talk next week.
You got it, guys. Thank you, Briscoe. I'm coming for you. Even if it's a month, I'm coming for you, man.
It's gonna be waiting.
See you in a month.
There's Les Norman. Next week it'll be me and Les and Josh.
And a Josh Briscoe shaped hole in the wall.
That's exactly right. It'll be like the Kool-Aid Man. Oh yeah, he is out. Oh no. We'll take a break. We'll come back, wrap up this hour. More Zone right after this.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Hey, it's Todd Lebo. We are wrapping it up out here soon at Meet Mitch Barbecue, 95th and Mission, but they're not closing. They'll be open all day long with great specials. We're leaving here at 1 o'clock, but you can still come by and get the great specials on their wings. They've also got a great special going on all day long on their smoked Angus beef.
you, and when you knock us down, we're going to get up. And on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Twitter is, well, it's a lot of things. But in the response to the tweet that went out there about Aaron Judge's, answer to the question about what he was doing, you've got Yankee fans that are like, you know what, that's a captain. That's leadership. Then you got other people that are like, cheater, obviously is a cheater. Yeah, clearly. Sure, yeah, I bet. Oh, great explanation. No, they were cheating. That's what captains do. Captain. He's my captain. Yeah, I don't believe this. LOL. He looked multiple times.
Oh, his answer is pretty okay.
This text, I was more inclined to believe him until this answer. That's odd. Definitely was cheating. We'll continue. More Zone next.
Head to the Grand Falloon down on the Plaza May 18th in support of the Greater Kansas City Day and to celebrate opening day for the Kansas City Monarchs on May 19th. Be one of the first 500 fans to get a Monarchs clear bag tote plus...
Bills colors, the hoodies and the threes and all of that came after it. I was also my first knee jerk was, I don't know, was there not a Bills logo on the field there or anything? And
it's crazy in my mind. I'm like, yeah, Cincinnati went to Buffalo last year in Week 17. They're going to go to Kansas City in Week 17. No, you got that home game last year in Week 17, okay? And I hope you enjoyed the 8 minutes of football that were played there, okay? Because you got it. Now you go to Kansas City in Week 17, punks. All right? Don't complain to us.
You guys tried to rename the stadium. I mean, you should be pretty comfy here.
Don't you guys view this as like a second home?
That's what it seemed like. I mean,
you got a home game last year. You got a home game this year.
If Chiefs fans were calling it Arrowhead West for the last couple of years, and then suddenly we're like, I just don't want to see the Chiefs playing in LA. I don't like it. Like, well, first of all, it's a divisional game, and second of all, you called it Arrowhead West. So,
and the regular season games have been in Cincinnati until this year. So the two previous ones, unless were they in Buffalo? Were the Chiefs-Bengals games in Buffalo?
Weirdly, those games were actually at SoFi. It's really strange.
I can't get these things right. You know what? I think they were actually played in Lambeau.
That would, I tell you what, you know what Lambeau's going to have soon? The draft. Green Bay's getting a draft. They'll figure out some way to do that.
Should do that.
That's about the closest I can.
Should do it outside.
Do you want a weird little Chief stat that just came rolling past my timeline?
I like weird Chief stats.
It was retweeted by our friend Brad Spielberger of PFF. Nick Corte tweets it out. We're getting real granular here, the most guaranteed money given to 2023 undrafted free agents. So guaranteed money in the pool of undrafted free agents. I want you to take a stab at where you think more or less the Chiefs landed in that group. There's a whole ranking of teams. I've got a piece of logic that I think could lead you one direction, but I don't want to tell you which direction they ended up in.
Okay, so first initial reaction, and I'm saying that as I'm thinking to stall for time to come up with, and as I'm talking,
we got a whole hour.
I'm not actually thinking to stall for time. I'm thinking about the ways that I can stall for time instead of actually thinking of what the theories would be.
I can talk about something like you think if you want.
And what the first initial reaction would be. Would it be more? Would it be less? Would the Chiefs be near the top? Would they be near the bottom?
I'll tell you what, they're not at 16. I wouldn't have read this stat to you if they were 16.
My first thought would be, well, do they have many holes to fill, so therefore they would be near the bottom of the league in that. Then my reaction of giving it more thought would be, well, if they have fewer holes, would they want to spend a little bit more money on fewer players to have come in that have more of a chance of making the team? So I'm going to say they're near the top.
The little wrinkle at the end there is interesting. I'll have to look at the raw numbers of how many guys these teams signed. They are not near the top.
Okay.
They are at the top.
Whoa, okay.
The most guaranteed money given to undrafted free agents in 2023, the Kansas City Chiefs spent the most out of any team in the NFL with just a shade over $1.1 million. The Jets just a tiny bit over $1 million. The Eagles are third, bottom of the list. The Bengals gave out $35,000 total in guaranteed money. The Chiefs gave Prince a decent chunk, the running back. And I think they had a couple other ones where those guaranteed numbers did have a little bit of weight to them. And at that point, like, that is a way to cut the line, to cheat the system a little bit. If you've got your 7th round, your day 3 targets that you weren't able to actually select, and you're able to give those guys some guaranteed money, that's you have added round 7, but you have added basically 8th round draft picks to your arsenal.
Yeah.
And the Chiefs, I am curious if that's them prioritizing a few guys, or if that's just sort of them having a little bit of guaranteed money to get themselves the best crop overall, and then they'll let them all fight for 3 or 4 spots.
Yeah, the breakdown would be pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Because Prince was viewed as like a top 30 UDFA. So, you know, as you said, like if there was an 8th round, he would be one of those 8th rounders, and they would be picking near the bottom of that. So I guess it just sort of depends on whoever's doing the rankings and things like that. But yeah, I haven't really looked at, like, here are the rankings of all the top UDFAs, and here's where they ended up to see if the Chiefs got, like, 4 of the top 50. And it's like, well, they would have to give a little bit more guaranteed money there, or do they just spread it out and throw more of a net over some of the guaranteed deals, like, the Royals would do in the international signing pool that they have, and just throw a net over a lot of them? Or do I spend 3 of my $4 million on one player? Or should I come over the top by $10,000 on the Braves for Ronald Acuna? when he wanted to sign with the Royals because of Alcides Escobar, and then the Braves were like, "No, we'll give you $100,000," and the Royals were like, "Too rich for our blood." No, of course, if people knew it was going to be Ronald Acuna, he would have gone for millions and millions and millions. It would have been like Aroldis Chapman out of Cuba that was like $30 million. Luis Robert or something like that if it was the same thing with Acuna. But
in terms of raw numbers here, look, I got the Chiefs having signed 18 UDFAs, like the Bengals, for example, have 9 here on this list. So that's relatively, like, I'm sure near that appears to be near the higher end for the Chiefs, but it's not the sole reason they spent the most there. I mean, it's specifically about that guaranteed money. And I will be curious to see if we can find some contract details on a couple of those other guys to see kind of why that is. But
so I'm looking at another list. This is from a college website of the top 25 UDFA signings. Number 9 was the Chiefs' Isaiah Moore, linebacker from North Carolina State. And as I scroll here to see if there was another list that had Prince as number 32. Best UDFA. That's the only one that came in the top 25 for the Chiefs. So depending on the list, I guess you could find different people.
Who do you still have the name of that linebacker up there that you just?
Isaiah Moore.
Is he the one who was briefly, like, sort of lightly comped to Nick Bolton by maybe a couple of the KCSN guys?
I actually don't know.
I'm gonna have to look.
You want to look it up?
I'm gonna see if I can find it.
Look up the linebacker page on the KCSN.
Is that what you want to do? Much more difficultly. It was just a tweet from like one of those dudes.
Oh, really?
It feels like it could have been a Kent tweet.
Oh, well, then I'm just going to do a search here of Moore on the draft guide.
Isaiah Moore is a high-quality two-down linebacker that will remind you of Nick Bolton when you watch him.
Okay.
Is that who you said, Isaiah Moore?
Isaiah Moore, yeah.
So there you go. I wonder if there's info on his guarantee. That was a Kent tweet, though. Again, high-quality two-down linebacker. Deneric Prince, height, weight, speed. Truman Jones is our guy out of Harvard. That was exciting.
Yeah.
And Kent also noted a few other dudes in there.
It was a team fit high for Isaiah Moore. They had a 4th-round grade on him, did they, at KCSN. Said Moore has a lot of the qualities Chiefs like in their Mike linebacker. He has high-level leadership ability, physicality, intangibles, and football IQ. He's a quality run defender and a sure tackler. Moore can play as a Mike in the Chiefs defense and also play special teams at a high level. An intriguing prospect the Chiefs could use one of their day 3 picks on. Or how about a priority undrafted free agent? People like Deneric Prince. So there's a couple of players there, but I don't know. I'd have to see the breakdown of what the sort of was it the bulk of the players there? I mean, is it just the amount of players that they spent the money on, or are they looking more at here's the talent, and we'll spend some money on these particular players because we think they could actually make the team as a special team, because they don't have we were talking about they don't have 10 spots for draft picks.
Right.
They're drafting 10 players. They don't even have 10 spots available for these guys, and then go out and spending the most guaranteed money on UDFAs.
That call from last year's draft class, and then again repeating much of it this year, has really stuck with me, and I think that's a funny part of this. But really, and we're gonna have to get big picture enough that maybe the individual details of these guys, because a lot of these like undrafted free agent contracts do not appear to be on Spotrac right now. I've tried. I'll keep plugging along, but in the sort of general terms, and not to get bogged down in the guaranteed dollars for Truman Jones. This is exactly the type of thing where you should be number 1 in the sport until every other team figures it out. Now, there's not a huge gap from the Chiefs at $1.1 million at number 1 and like the Browns at $700,000, and then it drops off a lot more to Dallas and everybody else. But this is a reasonable place for you to try to find an advantage, right? I mean, if you continue to trust your scouting department, where the only thing that you're really betting, it's not draft picks at this point. Even 7th-rounders have some value. That's why you see them get thrown into deals all the time. But this is a free way to risk very, very, very little. What's Frank Clark's dead cap hit this year already? $7.6 million, close to 7.7. If one of those guys who you give a little bit of extra guaranteed money to, if one of those guys makes your roster, it's a good investment. It just seems, especially when you have the expanded practice squads now as a permanent part of your roster building, you can use that as a chance to find a contributor this year. But more likely, guys that you're going to just have get coached up on your practice squad for the course of this season, and then see if they can evolve into anything beyond that later in the year or even next year, another offseason, everything. It's just an interesting way of trying to find another avenue to add some talent to your roster.
Yeah, and like the, I'm just looking at the signing bonuses for the.
Hey, yeah, here we go. Truman
undrafted
Jones.
free. Yeah, Truman Jones signed for $6,666. Deneric Prince signing bonus $6,666, and then Isaiah Moore $6,000. Cam Jones $5,000. Remigio $5,000. Jerome Carvin tackle $4,000. So on and so forth. So,
But
I
no-
mean, that's the signing bonus. But
Here you go. So Truman Jones and Deneric Prince. Hey, we're getting to the bottom of this sucker.
Yeah, all right.
So on Over the Cap's guaranteed salary section, there's a lot of zeros.
Tons of zeros.
But Deneric Prince, Truman Jones, both $216,000 guaranteed.
Good for them,
on
man.
their sub top 51 cutoff, salary. These are $750,000 contracts if they're on the roster the whole year. Isaiah Moore, $130,000. Cam Jones, $135,000. Nico Remigio, who Kent tweeted about, $50,000 guaranteed. So you are seeing it spread out pretty thinly, but there are, by my quick eyeballing here, let's say 8 undrafted free agents with some guaranteed money, and by some I mean $50,000 or more.
Yeah.
You have a lot of guys like I'm just trying to make sure that I get guys who are actually UDFAs still.
No, but
without accrued seasons, but a lot of these guys have zero guaranteed right now.
No, but the theory behind why they would be number one, like, again, I think you'd have to compare it to other teams to see what was the quantity versus quality on those particular players. Did their $700,000 go to like 13 different players?
Right.
And the Chiefs $1 million went to like 8.
Yeah.
Or, the Bengals $35,000 going to like 5. Interesting that the Bengals are $35,000 guaranteed money because, you got to actually pay that guaranteed dollars. And the Bengals are like, our guaranteed dollars are going to Burrow.
The reports I don't think we mentioned today, the reports, and I think Burrow actually said at a presser that those conversations for contract extensions are ongoing.
Oh, really? Are they?
I would like to confirm those reports by mentioning once more that the Bengals gave $35,000 guaranteed to their UDFAs.
Yeah, because they don't have the extra disposable income and guaranteed outside of what they're already going to give to Burrow. Like, we are cash strapped, okay? Yeah, we're here at the poker table. We think we have a pretty good hand. I've already put my keys to my car in. I don't have any more cash to throw in. I'm giving my watch. I've taken my watch off. I've put it in there as well, okay? This is all going to Burrow. Listen, free agents, I'm done. We can do a side pot, but I'm all in. All right, I've already done that with my money.
Did you see some of the quotes around any of the Burrow stuff to this point, and him being asked about keeping the core together and everything?
Core? No.
This quote here, just saw a quote tweeted by Dylan Michaels on Twitter.
Something else he wants to be like Patrick Mahomes in.
Thanks for the production, Dylan. Burrow's quote here, Jamar Chase on Joe Burrow, who had talked about keeping the core together. Jamar Chase says he knows he's the best quarterback in the league. He doesn't need the money to prove that. He wants to look out for the people around him and keep the team around him.
Unlike some of those other selfish players out there, like...
Says Jamar Chase about Joe Burrow's money. Bold strategy.
Mm-hmm. What about Jamar Chase's money? You think Jamar Chase is going to have that same...
If Joe Burrow came out and said, Jamar Chase knows that he's the best receiver in football, it's not about the money for him. It's about making sure that I'm still here to throw it to him.
What if Joe Burrow's like, whoa, hey, Jamar, what the hell, man? It kind of screwing me there a little bit. Now if I'm the highest paid quarterback in the league, all of a sudden I'm selfish and I care about the money. You kind of cut my legs out there, Jamar.
Yep.
All right. Get ready for the 70-catch season there, buddy. Hey, T, you ready to get paid? You ready to get paid, T?
We're making T some money.
Let's go.
Somewhere else.
Oh, man, T, you're gonna make a lot of money if I can throw it to you while sitting on my back because my left tackle is Orlando Brown. I'm just joking. Orlando Brown's fine.
Joe Burrow won't be sitting on the ground. He'll be laying on the ground.
He's fine. Orlando Brown is somewhere in the middle from the Bengals feeling like they just signed Willie Roaf and the Chiefs feeling like they just let Isaiah Wynn go.
That's right. That's
He's somewhere in the middle between those guys.
Yes.
Thank God that guy is gone. Who was the Cam that was terrible as a backup left tackle for Fisher in 2019? And then
Cam Irving.
Cam Irving.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say Cam Jordan for some reason, but so
he would have also been rough at tackle.
He's between the Bengals thinking it's Willie Roaf and the Chiefs thinking Cam Irving is the guy that's now leaving for the Bengals. He's not as bad as the Chiefs have made him out to be. Of a good riddance. Joe Burrow won't last 4 weeks with Orlando Brown at left tackle, and he's not. I don't know why I just threw my pen.
Jason is furious.
But it's also not fixed. It's all fixed. Orlando Brown, biggest free agent acquisition of the offseason. The Bengals did it. Good luck, Kansas City, because Orlando Brown at left tackle means Joe Burrow's going to have a clean jersey the entire game, okay? And they're going to move the crappy left tackle over to right tackle to make up for the other crappy right tackle that was there as a crappy right tackle.
That'll be seamless,
so
obviously.
It'll be fun. And he hasn't even asked for a trade this week, so it's going to be perfectly fine. He's going to accept the demotion to right tackle just great. He's going to be a good locker room guy. It's all fixed because we got Orlando Brown, who was rated as the 18th best left tackle with in pass blocking, with the first best quarterback in turning pressures into non-sacks. But he's also not Cam Irving.
There's
so there you go.
No room for that kind of nuance.
So there you go.
Speaking of nuance, did you see the contract details for the aforementioned Isaiah Wynn?
I don't know. I would write it down, but my pen is way over there. So.
Please stop throwing things at me, man.
I slammed my hand down for some reason to go, it's fixed, but then my pen was underneath it and it flipped and it went. The video would be great to see how I was able to do that. I'd like to watch
the
that
physics
back.
were incredible, but I wish you would stop throwing things in a fit of rage in the studio. Field Yates tweeted the contract terms. 1 year, base value of $2.3 million, max value of $2.7 million with incentives.
Of $400,000?
Well, not a lot of incentives.
The incentive is to not get cut?
Not a lot of incentives, but Donovan Smith's cap hit on Spotrac right now, and this number has changed several times, but it looks like as of right now, Donovan Smith's cap hit for 2023 with the Chiefs is $2.76 million, according to Spotrac. So Isaiah Wynn's contract and Donovan Smith's are virtually identical in 2023. If Smith plays a lot more, the incentives would have him add a cap hit next year, even if he's not with the Chiefs anymore. But that's pretty instructive for just kind of, speaking of maybe varying levels of reaction to overreaction, every day that has gone by, that Donovan Smith deal has looked more and more reasonable.
Yeah.
And also less and less like a lock to start at left tackle.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you've got two guys who, at points in their career, were graded out pretty well as to their ability to play left tackle, and this last year had a really bad season.
Yep.
Difference is Isaiah Wynn's only 26, and Donovan Smith is 29, turning 30. It would be interesting, the background behind the scenes, to see what the market was for Isaiah Wynn. Yep. Were the Chiefs interested in Isaiah Wynn? Were they interested in only Donovan Smith? And if Donovan Smith didn't work out, or if Donovan Smith wanted more money somewhere, then Jawan Taylor would be their left tackle. Because that's the part of, like,
that's fascinating, yeah.
Because that's the part of it to where people are just going, this was the plan all along. It's chess, not checkers. You sign Jawan Taylor. He's going to play right tackle, but you talk about him at left tackle, things like that. If you get somebody in the, but if not, you're just going to go get Donovan Smith. He could play left tackle. Jawan Taylor plays right tackle. What if Donovan Smith wanted $10 million per year?
Yeah.
And somebody was willing to pay Donovan Smith $10 million per year. Well, then your left tackle would be Jawan Taylor. So the fact that Donovan Smith chose the Chiefs, and I believe he chose the Chiefs, I don't think there was only the Chiefs that were willing to give him a contract.
Sure.
I think teams were probably willing to give him a contract, but it's also choosing what's the best spot for me in a prove-it deal.
Yeah.
Because his value on the open market is obviously not what it could have been 2 years ago. If he'd have been a free agent as a 28-year-old coming off one of his best seasons and giving up, 6 pressures or whatever it was all year, and minimal penalties, he might have gotten $20 million Jawan Taylor deal.
Yeah.
4 for $80 or something like that. Well, you have an injury-ravaged season in which you still went out there and played 14 games, and that's certainly the hope by the Chiefs and any other team that was going to be talking with Donovan Smith, that you're now healthier, and And he wants to prove that, you know what, I'm not going to take a 2-year deal somewhere. I'm not going to take a 3-year deal somewhere. I'm going to take a 1-year deal that is filled with incentives. I'm going to get a base salary. I'm going to get a guaranteed amount of money that I know I'm going to make this, whether I'm the starter or not. It's going to be filled with incentives, and I am going to play for the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I'm going to be uber motivated, and I'm going to prove that I can go out there in the open market and get a bigger contract than what was originally offered to me this year, which I don't think the Chiefs were the only ones to offer him that. Question is, were other teams willing to offer him money to play right tackle? And the Chiefs are saying, you're our left tackle?
Yeah, true.
Teams going, we got a left tackle. We'll play right tackle. We think you can slide over to the right side. So we'll pay you, whatever it is, $3 million per year with incentives, but you're going to be right tackle. Yeah, I'm going to play left tackle. Sorry. And if that's part of the negotiations with the Chiefs were, I'll sign with you, but the first...
But my feet go this way.
Yeah.
My slides go that way.
But I get left tackle shot.
Yeah.
If I lose the left tackle shot to Jawaan Taylor, then so be it. But I'm not going to show up and be the right tackle.
Yeah.
But if it happens, it happens. But I'm going to sign a 1-year deal. I do wonder how many teams were out there, because it was more than one, that wanted to sign Donovan Smith. And also the same thing with Isaiah Wynn.
It's interesting as like a spin-off of the versions of the conversations we've had about like the Chiefs being a ring-chasing destination or being a destination because of Mahomes or Andy Reid. Like, where if you are going to take a 1-year deal and everything else is equal, most guys would take Kansas City out of that group, which is just a very funny thing to say because my memory goes back farther than 2018. So I know how ludicrous it is to say that out loud. Even Andy Reid pre-Mahomes, it wasn't that. It wasn't let me go get Andy Reid to turn my career around. It was, he'll put me in good spots. But we also had that clip from James Palmer right before free agency of him talking about how all these receivers were blowing up Patrick Mahomes' phone. And then they signed Richie James. Like that was sort of the free agent splash, right? And so there's a sliding scale there where I really don't think it's either extreme. I don't think guys are just lining up at the practice facility offering to play for the vet minimum, nor should they. You should, get paid in your incredibly short career. But if you are in a position like Juju Smith-Schuster last year, like Donovan Smith this year, if you're talking about 1-year deals on offense where you have a chance to have your profile raised, your reputation power washed a little bit, this is the place to do it. Because if you're a receiver, just catch some passes from Patrick Mahomes for a little while. The league's going to remember who you were previously. And if you are protecting Patrick Mahomes and you want to do that at a high level in a Super Bowl with the entire nation watching you, that's a heck of a way to turn your reputation around there as well.
And I would wonder if the situations were different. If the Chiefs had Teron Armstead at left tackle, would they have signed Isaiah Wynn?
Yeah.
Versus having Jawaan Taylor, a right tackle that's going to play left tackle, but they didn't get a chance to draft a left tackle in the first round. So Donovan Smith is the guy they go and sign because Donovan Smith is like, yeah, I've played left tackle because Isaiah Wynn played right tackle last year.
Yeah.
He played left tackle the previous 3 years, played right tackle last year. So you've got a competition in Miami as to who's going to be the right tackle, but you got Teron Armstead, and Isaiah Wynn gives him flexibility that if Armstead misses games, which he does every year, then Isaiah Wynn can slide over to the left side and play since he's got experience 3 years in New England starting as a left tackle. That makes a lot more sense than them signing Donovan Smith when they've got a solidified left tackle and a guy who's never played right before in Donovan Smith to compete for the right side.
Yeah.
So it would make sense by both situations that if the Chiefs had Teron Armstead, Isaiah Wynn might be the tackle they went and signed, whereas he signed with Miami. And he's going to compete for the right tackle spot where he was last year in New England.
And it will be so fascinating, and I know we've got a whole lot of road to cover before we get to St. Joe, but it's going to be really
interesting.
It's not a lot of road.
It's only like, it's only an hour.
Depending on how often
20.
you drive it can feel like a relatively long,
That's true.
Relatively long road. Up and down in one day, that's a round trip. But it'll be a blast at camp this year, not just to see the first team line and how that opens up, and is it really going to be Jawaan Taylor on the right side and Donovan Smith on the left, but I can't wait to see what the second team offensive line looks like. Because if it really is like, hey, we're going to have competitions at all these spots, who's competing at left tackle? Is Lucas Niang trying to play the left side? Is it, as we've talked about, is Wanya Morris actually a long-term Chiefs plan for the left side? Or is this all 1 year of trying to find your best five before Jawaan Taylor moves over next year and Wanya is your right tackle? And those are things that we can continue to kind of talk about and nitpick for a while. But once we finally do get to see the full team out there, and do we get a mini camp somewhere before then? I think we might.
Yeah, the end of this month.
So we'll
They're going to be in.
I will not be at Arrowhead.
I believe
for
it's
those.
over Memorial Day, right? The Memorial Day weekend, don't they?
That seems right. I definitely got that email and
like
then went, I'm not going to be here, and then deleted that information from my brain. So my bad,
Maybe
everybody.
it's June 2nd through the 5th. Maybe it's the week of after
that.
Memorial Day.
So we'll get a little bit of data
Monday.
from that. But man, the battles in training camp will be fun.
Or maybe it's before that. Or maybe it's after.
Or maybe it's during. Maybe it's happening right now.
It could actually be during, too. Dylan, do you have the dates?
I do. So the organized team activities group 1 will start May 22nd through the 24th. Group 2, May 30th through June 1st.
There you
and
go.
then group 3, June 6th through the 9th, with mandatory minicamp June 13th through the 15th.
So mandatory is 13th through 15th. All right, we can make it to mid-June. We can do it. I think we can talk about baseball more or less and then some Evergreen Chief stuff until mid-June.
Yeah.
And then we're all putting our pads on.
Yeah, that makes sense. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling. I do want to ask the question that Josh tweeted out last night about the injured player that you could then magically make those injuries disappear. Which one would you go with? If we say the obvious answer we can't use, then who's the second one that you would then go with? We'll do that on the other side. And then also the draft lottery tonight, 7 o'clock ESPN. We'll see who wins the Victor Wembanyama lottery. We're calling it the Wembanyama tonight. Who gets the first? That's what we're calling it, right?
So smooth. Yeah, no, the branding is immaculate. I think that's what they're calling it on ESPN, too.
The Wembanyama. They got a countdown to who wins the Wembanyama tonight.
He doesn't have an L anywhere in his name. He's got a lot of letters in there. No L's?
Thanks. I appreciate it there, Wheel of Fortune.
I mean, yeah, could I buy a vowel? No, we got enough vowels. We got consonants.
I'll take an L. Son of a gun. Is it, I like to solve, Victor Wembanyama. Oh, sorry. That's not right. Dang it.
Victor Roulette Wembanyama.
Victor Wembanyama. Nope, that's not correct either. Oh, we're going to get this right very soon. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More is on next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch.
Look, you want to get it right the first time, and Bickmer Electric helps you get it right the first time. They make sure they get it right the first time. Bickmer Electric, your locally owned and operated one-stop electrical contractor, more than 20 years in the industry. Small jobs to big jobs, Bickmer team knows how to take care of your commercial and residential electrical needs. You hire a professional, you make sure the job is done the right way the first time. That's what Bickmer does. Bickmer Electric, BICKIMER electric.com, 913-313-6751. Whether it's adding some things to the outside, we also wanted to add some electrical receptacles to the outside just so it's a little bit easier for us to put some of those cords, so I'm not using extension cords all over the backyard and the front yard. And no, I've been able to string 5 extension cords together. Why? Well, because apparently the only plug we have is 4 houses over. So we're going to go ahead and add a few more, which was nice. It takes a little bit less of the connecting all those extension cords, which it sucks. Let me tell you, if there's one thing people don't want to do, it's connecting extension cords. But it is convenience. Bickmer Electric can take care of that, whatever you're looking for with your electrical needs, residential or commercial. The one-stop electrical contractor, 20 years in the business. 913-313-6751, Bickmer Electric, BickmerElectric.com.
The NBA playoffs continue on ESPN Radio.
Grams Run Pet Show comes your way at 2 o'clock. Little best of coming our way at 6 o'clock tonight. And then 7 o'clock, Western Conference Finals pregame right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB, along with the lottery going on. And then the Western Conference Finals game number 1 get rolling with the Lakers and Nuggets and the what we'd like to call the Shane v. Marco series around here. That's what a lot of people are calling it across the country. Marco v. Shane, the showdown, the duel here at the station, the brawl to settle it all.
Have
Marco
we got
and Shane.
any stakes on that from either of them? Because, like you say, the brawl to settle it all. What if we say, hey, it's time for the brawl in the hall? Like, can we get some sort of? Can one of them shave their head or something? I don't know.
So
not like a loser leaves town type of deal, but
no, we can't afford. We can't afford that.
No. The loser actually signs a 5-year contract that is a 7-year non-compete for any other job
in any form of
any form of money. It's like, how you grant of rights deal in college athletics for the conference. It's actually a grant of pay deal to wherever you get paid, it comes straight to the radio station. If you lose, therefore, you can't leave.
We also do retain your name, image, and likeness rights. So Marco/Shane, I will personally begin making T-shirts with the loser's face on them that just says "loser" beneath it, and you'll make no money from it. How about that?
No, they spent like 10 minutes this morning talking about what the bet is going to be.
Okay.
Because Shane was like uber confident. He was like, I'll make a bet.
Yeah.
And then everything that was brought up, Shane was like, well, I don't know if I want to do that.
Come on, Shane.
It was like, okay, Shane, if you lose, then you got to come in and run the Border Patrol for 4 hours. So you got to get up in the morning. Oh, I don't know. I don't really remember.
That would have been a great one.
Right. I mean, and my job, like, is so intricate, and there's a lot of things that Marco would never be able to learn.
Marco's just like so much dumber than me that there's no way he could do my job.
The radio station was just shut down. It would cease to exist. We probably have to sell it if I'm gone for a minimum of 3-4 hours. Then it got to like, oh, hey, no, what if the Lakers lost? Then you'd have to eat like chicken nuggets. And then then it became something like that was just absurd.
Hey, you know what I'm going to do? Since the Suns lost to the Nuggets, I'm going to eat some chicken nuggets sometime very soon.
Right, yeah, you're going to fly close to the sun. That's what you're going to do, a little too close to it.
Hope that they toast up those nugs.
Maybe, I'm not sure. I think they settled on something like if the Nuggets win, Marco does like 3 or 4 hours of work at Shane's house for him.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. A pool boy situation.
Yes, and he has to dress up like a maid.
Yeah, I think did Shane pick these rules or did Shane's wife pick these rules?
I believe it was probably Steven and Nate. Steven was pushing for Marco has to be the man of the family in everything for a day.
Wow.
Everything. Marco would be them. And Shane was like, I veto that. And Steven was like, no, everything for a day. But I do think if the Lakers end up winning, then Shane has to come in the morning and run a morning of the Border Patrol wearing like Marco's Lakers jersey or something like that. So I think they did decide on that ultimately.
Shane just texted me dad work for Marco.
Yeah.
But based off that description, it sounds like might be a little more like daddy work for Marco.
They didn't agree to that. It's like mowing the lawn or something, It's
I have to run BP from 7 to 10, so Marco still has to get here at 4:30?
No, that's BS.
I know that's for the TV side, but hey, Shane, it's not that hard. We'll teach you the TV thing.
Yeah. Nope. You get a primer on the TV thing. You that's not winning a bet if Marco has to get up here at 5:45 still. Part of the bet winning is that he gets paid while showing up and just watching you do the work. But he wouldn't have to be here till 8 o'clock or something like that, just to help out. But
so to
do work from 6 to 7 and then not like that's a terrible bet.
Why
did Marco agree to this?
If Marco loses, he has to go get through Shane's honey-do list for a day, and if Marco wins, he has to sit behind Shane for 3 hours. Does he at least get to go home early, I guess?
Also, Marco is the heavy underdog in this.
Yes.
The Nuggets are winning this thing in 5 or 6 games. So Marco should be the one with the actual advantage to a degree.
And the only people really paying the punishment in this case are probably Nate and Steven and the listening audience. because it will be the first time that Shane's been on a board in a while.
Yeah, Shane's family would be like, cool, somebody else is going to
Yeah, freshen things up a little bit.
You know, you know what? Shane and his family can go to on a Saturday, afternoon or Sunday, they can go out and do something while Marco does the yard work.
Wow, that's a good point, too.
So Shane doesn't have to do that.
I think that's a good question.
I think he should already start coming up with a list of things to do because the Nuggets are winning the series.
That's how I feel.
Can't believe Marco agreed to that, to get up here at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Well,
before that, really, to run the show.
Shane must have a very nice house. Big pool. Just out there, just getting some rays, getting some tan on.
Maybe that's what Marco agreed to. Is like, you've seen that pool? Yeah,
lay by the pool.
Cool. I'll mow the lawn, but then I get the rest of the afternoon to go. I get a 3-hour pool day. Mow the lawn. It's an hour. It's not a big deal. The pool takes up most of the backyard anyway.
I'm glad I didn't try to do a serious bet with Shane because this feels like a real big hullabaloo for not a not payoff for Marco.
You would have actually had to do the yard work coming up on Saturday.
That's what I was thinking.
Day of your wedding.
I mean, I don't know what I have tried to I don't know what I could have tried to make Shane do from the sort of pre-wedding planning process because that I don't think would have that would have also been punishment for Renee.
Shane would be the stand-in at the rehearsal on Friday night.
That would have been nice. That would be good.
You can just go out and hang out with friends, but Shane and his family would have had to been the groomsmen and the.
Actually, that's right. Shane has to get an entire wedding party together.
The husband's side of the rehearsal. And you guys can just go out to drink and hang out with some friends that may or may not be in town or whatever. Who's standing up there with you? I'm not sure.
Shane, you lose.
All of your classmates at when you went to high school.
That would not be as hard a roster to fill out. Shane could have taken my garter off and then just done that. That would have been a really reward for everybody.
I don't think that's a reward. I think
you don't.
That's the loser of the bet. So that actually would have been.
I would have felt like a winner.
Nobody wins in that scenario. Nobody wins. On a serious note, who do you got?
Oh, I got the Nugs.
Nuggets. Celtics.
I got the Rudy and Beards Memorial NBA Finals. It's gonna make our particular group chat absolute hell for me.
Man.
But the good news is one of them will be really sad by the end of it. So.
And a few years ago, you could have got that in the bubble when you guys were all doing the show together.
Yeah, it would have been awesome if it wasn't. I don't think Beards was around at that point. I think that might have been during his brief absence. But
he was absent for a brief time?
He was briefly absent.
Huh.
But yeah, no, that would have been great in the bubble, and instead we got the LeBron series. The Suns being involved would have been pretty cool. But no, I think the Nuggets get it done in. I think what did I say for our video yesterday? I think I had Nugs in 6, Celtics in 5. I feel like that's probably a little bit of an underdog bet there on the Celtics getting it done in 5. But yeah, I think that's your finals.
Yeah, I think it's Celtics in 6, and Nate will be there in Miami, all decked out in white when the Celtics win that game in Miami.
All right, I'm rooting for that one to go 6.
And I think it'll be the Nuggets in 6 based on there'll be a game where LeBron just goes and wins one, where the series should really be in 5. But it'll extend to 6.
I think you're right. I think you're going to have the LeBron game, you're going to have the Austin Reeves game, and and then the other four will be Nuggets.
Fascinated to see how everything works out tonight with how they're going to guard the screen and roll. Is Anthony Davis going to be the one that they put into the screen and roll like the Golden State Warriors were trying to do in games where he was really awesome when he did that, and then games where he was non-existent, and just like the up and down level of play from AD, while Jokic just like, hey, here's 26, 12 and 7. All right, well, here's another 28, 13 and 9. Just going to give you an expected level each and every game, and Anthony Davis is going to give it 30 and 23, followed by 11 and 8.
Which will be really interesting because as much as this series is impacted by Anthony Davis, like you said, I mean, Jokic is a force of nature, and he's a weird dude to even talk about because he's a weird dude to watch. I was obviously watching Suns Nugs, and at one point Renee was like, Jokic was just like, they were doing like a close up between possessions or something. She was like, he just doesn't make any sense. I was like, exactly.
He doesn't.
That's what I've been saying.
Well, that's like the difference between when people were saying, well, Joel Embiid needs to be better in shape. And it's like, and people were going, well, look at Nikola Jokic. Well, I think there's a difference between being better in shape and being fit.
Yes.
So we talk about being fit in soccer. It's like, well, can he play 90 minutes? Nikola Jokic is not. He doesn't look like he's Mr. Universe. but he doesn't look like he's slugging around out there.
Never.
Like, I can't make. Joel Embiid looked freaking tired in the game against the Celtics. Whether he didn't want to be there or he just didn't have the energy or the stamina, and maybe he needs to be in better shape. So it's not the same when you go, be in better shape. Well, Jokic can do it. Yeah, but Jokic is running up and down the floor, and he doesn't look like he's just, knuckles dragging on the ground because he's so tired when he's out there. I don't care that Jokic looks like, you could, the Stay Puffed Marshmallow Man and
the Pillsbury Doughboy.
Pillsbury Doughboy just touch his stomach and go hee hee. He's not Jared from Subway that lost all the weight but didn't have an ounce of muscle on him. Like, he's not that, but he also doesn't need to be Bam Adebayo when he's out there to run up and down the floor.
You know
he's
who's
in good shape.
You know who's in awesome shape? Who looks like he was cut out of marble? Not me. I know you're thinking me. DeAndre Ayton. So I guess he should get fat. It would make me feel better if Jokic had like one visible muscle though. Like, it would be nice to believe that he's a world-class
his
athlete.
muscles have all been scratched away.
Yes, it's just blood.
Since that's just what his upper arms are just like. Do you see the definition of the scratches?
Yeah, your scars on your
Why
arms.
does he always have scratches on his arms, Shane?
Always bleeding.
Why is he always scratched? Yeah, Shane's in the.
Hey, bad news. We really do need to take a break, so we'll do that. We'll hear from Shane whenever we come back.
Why are his arms always scratched
I was
up?
just going to I don't know, because he's getting physical, but I was going to say I was listening, and my basis of running the board is your show, obviously, where I don't have to pay attention.
Yeah.
The Morning Patrol has Border Patrol has a lot more going on where I actually have to do stuff.
Yeah. And no, look, I mean, the degree of difficulty is definitely higher.
But it's still a terrible bet for Marco.
Still a bad bet for Marco.
Terrible bet. What's he doing? When the Nuggets win in 5 or 6, what's Marco actually going to be doing at your house?
I don't know. I mean, I'll figure out. I'll make him pick up the kids' toys. And
You might as well start making a list with that because it's happening. He might as well already. Can he work ahead? Can he go ahead and knock some of that out? When the Nuggets jump up 2-0, I think Marco should start on some of the yard work.
I think Marco should have to change a diaper.
Well, they would have to have a child who has diapers.
Oh no, I meant Shane's.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
The clock is already ticking. Football season will be here before.
No,
okay.
no, that
Just
is.
guessing. I could hear Bill Murray yelling it.
No, that is.
Woody Harrelson, Randy Quaid.
Woody. No, it is Woody.
It is Woody?
It's Woody Harrelson because Randy Quaid is dancing with another man's wife, and there's a bunch of bigger sort of good old boys that are there that surround him, and then Randy Quaid sees him, and he looks over at Woody Harrelson like, help, and Woody Harrelson then looks around and sees all these guys that are about to beat him up and looks at him, you don't mow another man's lawn, and then punches him.
Okay, so that's a way of helping.
Yes, and then they leave, and they're like, you didn't have to have beers with him afterwards. He's like, I'm just trying to help the kid out. You didn't have to have beers with him afterwards. Well, I didn't want him to think we were in cahoots. Yeah, they got the idea when you rubbed Tabasco in his eyes. It's a very funny line.
That's a great line.
Just stands there and looks at him, and Randy Quaid's like, help, friend. You don't mow another man's lawn, all right? So, yes, watch Kingpin on your vacation. Instead of looking at some cool things in Europe, look at Kingpin the movie.
You
got a long flight, dude.
A long flight. If anyone's wondering when I'm trying to play the new Zelda game.
Yeah, but here's
that's
the thing.
The answer.
Here's the thing. You got a long flight.
Yeah.
After you're married.
Twice.
You're done talking.
Done talking. Talking's over. Planning's over.
The talking is over once you say, I do.
Yeah.
Communication then ceases to exist. You're on that long flight. It's all about what you want to do and how do you entertain yourself. You guys don't even need to sit next to each other.
I'm hoping we don't, honestly, just
Why
to make
would
sure
you?
that we're still independent people separately. I don't want to. We don't want to be codependent.
No,
that's a bad look.
No. You gotta be independent while also being in love. It's not easy. Sit on the wing if that's what it takes, man. But you gotta establish that independence before it gets ingrained. And then she's like, you can't play Zelda anymore.
Exactly. Hello.
You can't do the show from 10 to 2
Yeah,
anymore.
you need to be home.
You have to be home. I'm actually going to start homeschooling you.
Yeah, seems unnecessary. I feel like I got most of that done already, but if that
you would
works.
think, yeah, you just want to make sure that thing doesn't. You want to break those binds before it happens.
We're leaving the venue in 2 separate cars, and hers
Good
on
for
the
you.
back says
Good idea.
Jamar, and then mine says Reed. We each have one can on the end of a string. It's really sad looking.
Yours says Saint Ride.
It's Saint Ride. Yeah, there you go.
R-I-E-D.
Yeah. Perfect. That's perfect. So we're gonna go ahead and then we're gonna go to separate locations, and we'll see each other on our anniversary. So that's how that works.
Hers is gonna say Jamar.
Yes.
I'm not sure why.
Big Bengals fan, unfortunately. It's been a hard.
Is she saying like Ja Morant? Like, is it Jamar Chase?
Yeah, that's
Why
a
is
good point.
the Ja just up there? This is weird. And she's in a wedding dress.
It's very
and there's
confusing.
Cans on a string behind it,
Just
as if she was just
the
married.
one. Unfortunately, it's just the one can.
Jamar. Is it Jamar or Jamar? I don't know. It says right there Jumar.
And then I drive up next to her. Now the back of my windshield says, "All Charles into the Hall of Fame." It's very convoluted, but it's any chance I have to get that message going.
And as we get to the bottom of the whole, take the injury away conversation.
Yeah, we've been teasing that for 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
I think Jamal Charles would be who I'd pick, believe it or not.
I'd pick Patrick Mahomes.
Hey, look.
I mean, he didn't have an injury-plagued career, but if you can be like, hey, take one guy and doesn't have an injury, what would his career be? I'll take Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, that's fair.
But if you can't choose the obvious, I'll take the unicorn for 20 years with no injury. Man, it'd be fun to watch Jamal Charles more and more.
Just imagine an immortal Jamal Charles galloping through defenses.
Yeah. You know what you could do? Imagine that? Watch highlights on your trip to Europe.
Already do.
Hey folks, Todd Lebo here once again for the good folks at CertaPro Painters. It's springtime in KC. That means it's time to start thinking about a new exterior paint job to protect your home. CertaPro has been there for me over the years, inside and outside of my home. Every project has been great from start to finish, from color